So it was not recorded. It is not recorded. I apologize. All right, let's get back to it. So I'm now seeing it is recording there. Thank you, Shanika. What is one effect of teenage pregnancy? Decrease strain on the wider family. B. Enhance educational opportunities for teenage parents. C. Increase chances of getting a job. Or D. Interrupted education. So which one is an effect of teenage pregnancy? D. Interrupted education. Which factor contributes to substance abuse? A, educational success. We know that's not correct. B, financial stability. We know that's not correct. C, peer pressure. Or D, strong social support. The answer is C, peer pressure. Which of the following? So, before I continue, you'll notice that we are doing questions in order of how the syllabus is. So we started off with family, and now we're looking at social issues. Which of the following is a potential solution to address juvenile delinquency? A, encouraging disrespectful behavior. We know for sure that's incorrect. That could never be a solution. B, giving the family more rights to discipline children. That sounds good. C, limiting access to parenting classes. That could never be a solution as well. Or D, providing opportunities for training and education. The answer is D, providing opportunities for training and education. So right now, I don't think there's any limit to how much a family could discipline their children. So that would not be an option there, but it will be D because we're looking to help the juvenile themselves, and it would be providing opportunities for training and education. What type of institution is an insurance company? We know the types of institutions. We have economic, education, health, and religious. Sorry, economic, education, religious institutions. Insurance, dealing with money. So it is the bank. Sorry, economic A. What went on there? What is the function of educational institutions? So, what's the purpose of school? A, to ensure the all round development of the human resources. B, to make laws and policies for society. C, to provide goods and services. Or D, to socialize individuals to interact with each other. The answer will be A, because socialization begins in the family. So the purpose of the function of educational institution is not necessarily that they are the ones to socialize individuals. It happens because people are interacting, but it is to ensure an all-round development of human resources or people. Which of the following is not an agent of transmission for the transfer of cultural heritage? So here we're looking at mediums or agents that could transfer cultural heritage. We have artists, A, B, institutions, C, mass media, or D, sports teams. So we know artists can be an agent for transmission of cultural heritage by what they do. Institutions such as education, even religious institution passes on cultural heritage mass media, using television, social media, papers, the press, that can be an agent of transmission of culture. And so the answer will be D, sports team, because they're going to play the sport. They're not there to highlight the culture of a country or the country that they come from. Next question. Which of the following does not refer to the customary behaviors and traditions that are widely accepted by an institution? Sorry. A, folkways, B, mores, C, norms, or D, rules. The answer is D, rules. So because the question is saying which does not refer to customary behaviors and traditions. So things people are accustomed doing, not written guidelines that they have to follow. So the answer is D, rules. A friendship group is an example. So we're on groups now. A friendship group is an example of a primary formal group, B, primary informal group, C, secondary informal group, or D, secondary informal group. So because the answers are primary and formal or informal, we just try to remember, okay, we know primary groups are small groups, face-to-face interaction. Secondary is larger than primary group. They may not know each other. You know, formal groups is groups that have written rules and regulations. There's usually a leader. Informal groups happen more casually. There isn't any rules or regulations. So based on a friendship group, that persons know each other well. However, it doesn't have a leader or set rules and guidelines or regulations to follow. So it will be B, a primary informal group. Because remember, formal group, it has a leader, rules and regulations. Informal group happens more casually, doesn't have a leader, doesn't have rules and regulations to follow. And also if you're not getting the answer correct and you don't understand, please stop me so I'll explain how we arrive at a particular answer. 5 people in a marble game best illustrates either A, an informal group, B, a formal group, C, a peer group, D, a voluntary group. So let's do the process of elimination method. So we know not a voluntary group, and we know it's not a peer group because they don't have the 5 persons playing the game of marbles don't have to be around the same age. So we have to look at an informal or a formal group. So does the marble game have a leader? Does it have a hierarchical structure? No. It's persons who probably have 3 or 4 marbles and they say, let's play marbles. So the answer will be A, an informal group. Next question. A formal group has the following characteristics. A, anthem, symbols, and pleasures. B, youths, scouts, and leaders. C, rules, goals, and leaders. D, people, money, and officers. We know what a formal group is. They have rules, regulations, they have a leader, they have goals that define the group. So the answer will be C, rules, goals, and leaders. An informal group is usually A, large, permanent, and organized. We know for sure, nope, that's not an informal group. B, small, casual, and spontaneously formed. That sounds like an informal group. C, homogeneous, cooperative, and distinct. That doesn't sound like an informal group. And D, functional, practical, and prestigious. We know that is not an informal group. So the answer there is obviously B, small, casual, and spontaneously formed. What are the formal written guidelines that are enforced by a governing authority in a group called? The hint here is governing authority. That's how we will know if it is laws, mores, rules, or sanctions. So because they use the term, or they would have indicated that it's a governing authority, the answer is A, laws. How does social control contribute to the overall functioning of a group? So we know that social control is the means used to get members to behave in a certain way. So the question is saying, how does this social control contribute to the overall function of a group? A, by discouraging cooperation and collaboration among members. So A saying they don't want to have it, make sure that there is no cooperation. So that's what A is saying. B, by ensuring adherence to group rules and expectations. C, by minimizing the influence of group norms and values. Or D, by promoting individualism and personal freedom. So based on what we know social control is, the answer would be B, by ensuring adherence to group rules and expectations. So very good for what I'm seeing in the chat so far. Which of the following facilitates group cohesion? We know that group cohesion is where groups work together or stick together. So which of these options here encourages groups to want to stay together and to work together? We have commitment and loyalty. So that sounds like it will help group or facilitate group cohesion. So we know one, or I, is one of them. Cooperation, two, we know that is one of them as well. Democratic leadership. People in a group want a democratic leadership where they can be heard. So three is also part of that. And then four, we have strict sanctions. So based on the options, 1, 2, and 3 will best facilitate group cohesion. So the answer is A, 1, 2, and 3. Next question, we are going into government. Choosing a government through the democratic process is allowed by A, an autocratic leader, B, a democracy, C, a dictatorship, or D, a tyrannical leader. If you didn't know about the democratic process, just because the question says democratic process, the answer that looks very close to democratic process is democracy. So that's another way too. The answer will be B. But based on the fact that we know all these things, we have this knowledge of what it means, we will choose because we know a democracy is the answer. So the answer is B. What is meant by the democratic process in choosing a government? So the question before was choosing a government through the democratic process is allowed by a democracy. And this one is saying what is meant by the democratic process. We know it means that you are able to choose a government through free and fair elections. That is the knowledge we have. So let's see what the options say. A, the freedom of the electorate to stay home on polling day. We know that's wrong because they're not exercising their democratic rights. B, choosing a government through free and fair elections. So that sounds like a democratic process in choosing a government. C, the independence of the judiciary, which has nothing to do with choosing a government. And D, the freedom for any number of political parties to contest an election. So that isn't, it doesn't matter how much. They're talking about here, how what is the democratic process then? And it will be B, choosing a government through free and fair elections. Which of the following is not a type of government system? We know the government systems, we know the three, so that means we will be able to choose our answer quickly. It says here, not. We know the three types of government systems: crown colony, constitutional monarchy, and republicanism. So obviously, our answer is C, executive. So executive is not a type of government system, but what is the executive? Can somebody in the chat tell me? Executive falls under what? So it is not under the type of government system, but it falls under what?
Miss, is it the type of government?
Not the type of government, but it falls under the branches of government. Do we know the three branches of do we know, yes, do we know the three branches of government?
Miss, is it legislative, execute,
Executive.
executive, and
the judiciary.
judiciary?
Excellent. The three branches of government: executive, judiciary, and legislative. Good. So we know that executive is not a type of government system. Which of the following countries is a presidential republic? So this means that which one of these republican countries has the president as the head of state and head of government? It is. So I'll say it again because I'm seeing the answer in the chat. But I'll say it again. So with the presidential republic, this is where the president is the head of state and also the head of government. And there's only one country in the Caribbean region that has this type of, or is this type of republicanism. The answer is B, Guyana. So in Guyana, the president is both the head of state and the head of government. So when we look at the structure of the republic or republicanism, we see that Guyana has a different structure from the other countries that are a republic. The bicameral legislature is made up of A, cabinet and senate, B, House of Representatives and Senate, C, opposition and government, D, parliament and cabinet. So here, what may have been the hint would have been bicameral, so it's two, but all the options have two in it. So when we look at the bicameral legislature, we're looking at the houses of parliament, which is the upper house and the lower house. And we know the terms for upper house and lower house is House of Representatives and Senate. So very good, done it. The answer is B, House of Representatives and Senate. Under Crown Colony government, power was vested in the hands of the A, governor, B, assembly, C, executive council, or D, the monarch. So those answers are supposed to be just flying in the chat there, because we know that the Crown Colony government, the monarch is or was the head of, or the head of that government, that type of government system. So the answer is the monarch. The most important difference between a monarchy and a republic, as experienced by some of the Caribbean republics, is A, the governor is replaced by governor general, B, the prime minister is head of state, C, the president replaces the monarch as head of state, or D, the people elect their head of state. So they would have indicated a few hints or a few cues here. So they say the most important difference between a monarch and a republic as experienced by some, because we know that Guyana has a different republicanism structure. So the governor is replaced by governor general. So we know that is incorrect because in a republic, that governor general title is or has been removed. The prime minister is head of state, which we know it is not correct or not true for some or most of the Caribbean republics. The president replaces the monarch as head of state, and the people elect their head of state. We know that in most Caribbean republics, the people do not elect the head of state, who is usually the president, who is the head of state. So the answer is C. The president replaces the monarch as head of state. Next question. The head of state in A blank is a president. Is it constitutional monarchy, B crown colony, C dictatorship, or D republic? We know in the constitutional monarchy, the head of state is the governor general. We know in the crown colony, it's the monarch. C dictatorship is an obviously wrong answer. So it has to be D. As we know, in a republic, the president is the head of state. So the answer is D. The members of parliament who are not in the ruling party form one of the following: either A, the cabinet, B, the senate, C, the opposition, or D, the ministry. So the members of parliament who are not in the ruling party, do they form the cabinet? No, because the cabinet is made up of persons in the ruling party. Do they make up the Senate? No, because the Senate is made up of persons who have been appointed by both the government, the opposition, and the president. So it's not D, obviously. So the answer is C, the opposition. They form the opposition. Senators in Trinidad and Tobago are nominated by all of the following except the. So we're looking for that word except. So we know that senators in Trinidad and Tobago are nominated by the prime minister, the opposition leader, and the president. So the except there will be B, the electorate. The electorate in the country do not nominate senators. Which one of these statements is correct? The speaker is the head of state. B, the queen is the monarch of the republic. C, cabinet includes opposition members. D, laws are made by parliament. So let's look at the options. A, we know that is incorrect because the speaker is not the president. So that is incorrect. The ask which is correct. B, the queen is the monarch of the republic. We know that is incorrect because when a country becomes a republic, or even before republic, when they became an independent nation, they separate ties with the monarch. So we know that is incorrect. C, cabinet includes opposition members. We know that is incorrect because cabinet are formed from the winning or the governing party. So it has to be D. Well, not has to be, but we know it is D. Laws are made by parliament. So the answer is D. What is the role of the opposition in the legislature? Oh, okay, sorry. That one already have the answer. A, to it. So it says to provide checks and balances to the government. So let's look at the other options. A, to enforce court decisions. That has the court system has nothing to do with the legislature, so we know that's incorrect. To interpret the constitution, No. To propose and pass laws, they can't pass the laws, they could propose, so that is incorrect. The legislature to provide check and balances to the government. What they mean here is that we know that the legislature is what we know as parliament. So when the government or the governing party proposes their policies, it is in parliament or in the legislature where it is debated, where questions are asked and answered. So that's why they mean what they mean to provide checks and balances, because they have to answer or they have to give reasons or they have to justify what they are doing in parliament or in the legislature. The legislative function of government deals with A. Providing social services, B. Controlling the military, C. The making of laws, D. Maintaining law and order. So we know that the legislative function, it does not provide social services. That is the role of the cabinet through their policies with the various ministries. Controlling the military, um, that has nothing to do with parliament as well. The making of laws, definitely, because this is where they come together to suggest or to propose laws, and not the maintaining of law and order, which is part of the judiciary function. So it's C, the making of laws. Parliamentary debates are permanently recorded in the A newspaper, B encyclopedia, C white paper, or D the Hansard. Find people stop responding in the chat. Come on, what's the answer there?
Mr. Hansa.
Good, so it's D, the Hansard. So that's the record of everything that happens in Parliament. Everything that happens in Parliament is recorded in the Hansard. So you can Google Hansard April 1999 and everything that will want that April, yeah. And for that entire month, or you could choose a date, you will see what happened in Parliament that day. So that's called the Hansard. What does adult suffrage mean? We know that adult suffrage means that once you reach the age of 18, you have the right to vote. So let's see which options here match what we know. A, all adults over a certain age have the right to vote. B, only adults with a certain level of education can vote. C, only adults with high incomes can vote. D, only adults with property can vote. So based on what we know, the answer is A. All adults over a certain age, we know that age is 18, have the right to vote. The ideas and plans of a political party, if it wins an election, are outlined in A Constitution, B Gazette, C Manifesto, or D Newspaper. So that document that the political party gives out or shares with persons before the election is had is given in C, a manifesto. That's what we call it. So in their manifesto, they tell you what they plan to do if they are elected. First past the post system refers to. So we know first past the post system. In this system, the country is divided into constitutions and persons vote for the candidate of the constituency to which they belong. So we know that. So let's see what the options are saying. A, the first person to cast a vote on polling day. So that's incorrect because that's not what we know is the first past the post. B, the first polling station to count the votes cast. Also incorrect, not what we know. C, the candidates who collect the majority of votes in a constituency. And D, the first time the people in a country went to the polls. So based on what we know first past the poll system refers to, C is the closest answer to what we know. So the entire sentence will read, first past the poll system refers to the candidate who collects the majority of votes in a constituency. Which of the following is not true about the proportional representation system? Not true. Again, you see the question, you go into your memory. We know proportional representation, the whole country is treated as a constituency. The party puts out a list of candidates and you vote for the party and not a particular candidate. We know the system is practiced in Guyana. So we know all of this. So let's see which is not true. A, political parties put up a list of candidates. So we know that is true because we know that. B, seats are allocated according to the percentage of votes a party gets. We know that as well. So you win the proportion of seats you win, that's where you get in the parliament. C, the candidate that has the most votes wins the election. That doesn't sound true because you don't vote for a candidate, you vote for the party. And D, the whole country is a single constituency. We know that is how it is treated. So the answer is C, the candidate that has the most votes wins the election. Next question. A ballot describes. So for those who have not gotten to age to vote as yet or were not able to vote, when you go to vote, they give you something known as a ballot paper. And this is where you will see the candidates in terms of first past the poll system. You will see the candidates for your constituency. And this is where you go to cast your vote secretly and you fold up your ballot paper and you cast a vote. So that is what a ballot paper is. So let's see. A public opinion poll. You know, that's incorrect. B, a system of government. We know the system of government. C, a system of voting secretly. Or D, the right of every adult to vote. So the answer is C, a system of voting secretly. Because with the ballot or the ballot or the ballot paper, nobody should see or know who you vote for because it's done in secret. So the answer is C, a system of voting secretly. Next question. What is one responsibility of voters on election day? So on election day, for those who are not of age to vote as yet, you take your ID card and you go to a polling station, you present your ID, they look for your name. Once your name is on the list at that polling station, they then go through the procedure for you, give you a ballot paper and all of that. What you can't do on election day, you can't, or you're not supposed to wear any colors affiliated or any like how they have the jerseys with the print on it. You're not supposed to wear anything that is affiliated with a political party because again, your voting is done in secret. You're not supposed to go there shouting slogans or singing the songs for the political party that you want to vote for or anything like that. So let's see. A, bringing a valid identification. B, ignoring the voting process. C, shouting slogans in the polling station. Or D, wearing a specific color. So the responsibility is to A, bring a valid identification. What role do public opinion polls play in elections? So we know that public opinion polls is where sometimes it can be reporters, just political analysis. They talk to people, the citizens, the electorate, to find out like how they feel about a political party, and from that they can gauge who has the majority support and all of that. So let's see what role the opinion polls play in elections. A, they determine the final election results. It can't determine the final election results because people can say one thing and then go and vote another way. Or yeah. B, they encourage voters to change who they vote for. No, they're just asking their opinion. C, they help candidates to understand voters' preferences. Or D, they prevent candidates from participating in elections. So even if you did not know, because I just told you what public opinion polls are, if you did not know, you could do the process of eliminations. D, they prevent candidates from participating in elections, so we know that is incorrect. They determine the final election results, which is also incorrect because you can't determine it before you actually have the voting process. So for sure, those two answers, A and D, are out. Public opinion polls can't encourage voters to change who they vote for because this is where you are finding out from the people what they think. So the answer will be C. They help candidates to understand voters' preferences. Next one, a floating voter describes a person who, from our knowledge, we know a floating voter is someone who does not have any loyalty or affiliation to one particular party. So that means they could decide to vote. They don't know who to vote for, and they could decide to vote for anybody on the day of elections. So let's look at our options. Has decided not to vote, so that is not what it is approaching voting age. No. Is unsure of who to vote for, or D, moves constituencies. So the answer based on what we know a floating voter is, the answer will be C. A floating voter describes a person who is unsure of who to vote for. Which of the following factor influence voters' participation in elections? So we're looking at something that can influence voters to participate. So we have A, the opposition has conducted a fair campaign. B, the views of young people under 18. C, businesses funding the ruling party. Or D, the manifesto of a party. So we know that it is not A because we don't have the knowledge, or we don't know that they would have conducted a fair campaign, one. And two, having a fair campaign doesn't mean that I'm going to be influenced because everybody can be having a fair campaign. B, the views of young people under 18, they have no say because
Social
they
studies.
cannot vote.
Hmm.
Persons under 18, they cannot vote. So they that can't influence how me who can vote. Businesses funding the ruling party, how they conduct their campaign, can't influence either, or shouldn't. But the manifesto of the party, because remember we looked at what a manifesto is, and this is the plans that if that party wins, what they will do. So the answer there is D, the manifesto of a party. Which term refers to a document that outlines the fundamental principles and laws of a government? A, authoritarian, B, constitution, C, democracy, or D, manifesto. So we're looking at the laws and principles of a government. So the answer is B, the constitution. This is where the rules and laws of a country is outlined. A bill becomes an act when it is signed by. So we know a bill is a proposed law. That's what it's called. It's called a bill. And for it to become a law, it has to be signed by A, a judge, B, the head of state, C, the leader of cabinet, or D, the leader of the opposition. We know that from our knowledge, we know that it has to be signed by the president. Based on the options, the president will fall under B, the head of state. So the president is the head of state. So a bill becomes an act when it is signed by the head of state. And even if it is not a republicanism we're talking about, whoever is the head of state of the country, it could be the governor general, or somebody was I think somebody last marathon said in Grenada there's a governor general who is the head of state.
I said so.
Good, Rachel, yes. Whatever title the head of state holds, that is who it is signed by to become an act. The main reason for making laws is to A, keep all police officers occupied, B, make the government stronger, C, establish a state of emergency, or D, maintain order and stability in the society. So we know the purpose or the reason for making laws will be D, to maintain order and stability in the society. Which of the following cases may be tried entirely in a magistrate's court? We know under the judiciary branch of government, the courts fall under that branch of government. We know the different court system. We have the magistrates court, we have the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, Privy Council, or the Caribbean Court of Justice. And at each court, different cases are tried at these courts. So let's see if we can remember in terms of the magistrates court, we have for both minor and major cases. So we can move from theft to murder. So let's see. A company declares bankruptcy. So that will have nothing to do with the magistrates court if your company didn't make it. B, a person is accused of murder. C, a person who wishes to file for divorce. D, a youth is accused of stealing. So we know it's not A. Also, we should know it's not C because C, it goes to the High Court or the Supreme Court. So the answer there is a youth is accused of stealing. Because with the magistrate court, so while yes, the person accused of murder, the case starts off on the magistrate's court. But when they get the sufficient evidence and all of that, it moves up. But where a youth is accused of stealing, that the entire case can be heard or tried in the magistrate's court. Which court is the highest appellate court in the Caribbean region? We have A, the civil court, B, the high court, C, the privy council, or D, the magistrate's court. So we know the highest court is, based on the options, it will be C, the privy council, but we know for the Caribbean region, we have the Caribbean Court of Justice, or the CCJ. But based on the options that are presented, the highest appellate court there is the Privy Council. When there are labor disputes, the workers resort to the something court. Is it A, industrial, B, magistrates, C, supreme, or D, appeal court? So we know any matter between an employer and an employee is dealt with in the A, industrial court. Next question. Why is the independence of the judiciary important for good governance? So A, it allows the judiciary to be influenced by political pressure. So we know that's incorrect. We could one time start to eliminate the options. B, it ensures a fair and impartial legal system that upholds the law. C, it promotes corruption within the judiciary. D, it restricts citizens' freedom of expression. So the answer there is B. It ensures a fair and impartial legal system that upholds the law. Even if, again, when you read the question, and you can like think that you'll come up with a correct answer, do the process of elimination. There are obviously wrong answers there. So you eliminate those and you will get your answer. So it's B. It ensures a fair and impartial legal system that upholds the law. The local government of a district is the A, parliament, B, regional corporation, C, community center, or D, ruling party. We're looking at local government, so we know that the answer is B, regional corporation. All of the functions, all of the following are functions of local government except, looking at that word here, except A, maintenance of recreational grounds, markets, and cemeteries. B, sanitation and public health. C, building and maintenance of minor roads and bridges. Or D, the collection of income tax rates and custom duties. So we know the local government or the regional corporation is actually responsible or has the functions of maintaining recreational grounds, of sanitation and public health, that is picking up and disposal of garbage, building and maintenance of minor roads and bridges, so we know that is a function. But we know that their function is not to collect income tax rates and custom duties. So except D. A person can become a citizen of another country by all of the following except. So we're looking at except again. A, birth. B, naturalization. C, marriage to a citizen. Or D, formalization of refugee status. So you can become a citizen by birth. You can become a citizen by naturalization. So this is where you may have lived in the country for a certain number of years, or your parents are citizens of that country, so you are able to become a citizen. C, marriage to a citizen, you can become a citizen. So it is D, formalization of refugee status. The greatest asset of any country is the A, natural resources, B, industrial growth, C, petroleum industry, or D, the people. I want to see those answers flooding the chat for this question here. The greatest asset of any country. Yes, so the greatest asset of any country is the people. What term relates to the study of population? We have A, democracy, B, demography or demography, C, ethnography, or D, geography. So the answer is B. Demography or demography is the study of Population. Population refers to the number of people A, migrating from a country, B, in the labor force, C, born in a particular year, or D, in a geographic area. So population refers to the number of people D in a geographic area. Because it can be the population of a town, a city, a country. It just depends on where they are, the area that they are in. A good knowledge of the distribution of the population of a country may be obtained from A census, B, a government official, C, the immigration department, or D, the registration office. So how do we know, or where do we get knowledge of the distribution of a population? Thank you, Brittany. A census. Sex ratio in a country's population refers to the proportion of A, old women to young women, B, old men to young men, C, males to females, or D, old men to young men. So when we're looking at the sex ratio, it's the ratio of male to female. Thank you, Josara. Which of the following defines dependency ratio? So we know what is dependency ratio from our knowledge. Dependency ratio is the amount of working people or the amount of non-working people to the compared to the working people or the labor force. So we know it has to do something with working and non-working. So let's look at our options. A, the average number of children born to each woman in a country. So no. B, the difference between the number of people immigrating and the number of people emigrating. So we don't know as well. C, the number of deaths across a group or population over a certain time. We know that's incorrect as well. And D, the number of non-working people in a population compared to working age adults or the labor force. So because we know dependency ratio deals with working and non-working, the answer is D, the number of non-working people in a population compared to working age adults or the labor force. Next question here. Which of the following factors does not influence population density? So we know that population density is where people live. So which of the following, or in a matter of fact, where people live, that will be population distribution, but population density will be how much people living in an area or a country. So we have A, birth rates, B, death rates, C, immigration, or D, occupation. So we're looking at which does not influence how much people live in an area or somewhere. It will be D, thank you, Jenny and Annalise, occupation. So people working does not influence how much people live in an area. Next question. In 2022, St. Kitts and Nevis had a population of 47,657. The area of the land is 261 kilometers squared. What is the population distribution in inhabitants per kilometer squared? So, we need to know how to calculate population distribution. Does anybody know the formula to calculate population distribution? Anyone? So I will give you the formula and I would like you all to answer it. So the formula for population distribution is the total population divided by the area of the land. So again, the formula, population, the total population divided by the area of the land. So let me see my scholars in the chat with that simple mathematical question there. All right. So let me see who was first. Brittany. The answer is B. I'm not too sure now if you are allowed your calculators in the social studies exam, but before they used to allow it. But you have to remember these formulas and well, okay, somebody's asking me to repeat the formula. It's the total population divided by the area of land. So population distribution is the total population divided by the area of land. No problem. Great. Next question. Which combination of factors will bring about population changes? When we're looking at the change in population, we know that the three main things that causes a population to change is birth, death, and migration. So let's look at our options. So we have births, 1, 2, we have deaths, 3, migrations, and 4, extended family structures, which we know have nothing to do with population change. So let's look for our options 1, 2, and 3. So that answer there is C. Good journey. What do population pyramids not measure? So we're looking at that keyword again, not. We know the population pyramid. Immediately you see a question like this, in your mind, you pull up a population pyramid in your mind. We know that it shows age. We know that it shows the sex, male, female. We know that it shows the number of persons as well. So let's see what it says. It does not measure A, age groups, B, age ranges, C, gender, D, population distribution. So based on what we know the population pyramids measure, we know that the answer is D, population distribution. What does the term mortality rate indicate? When we're looking at mortality, we're looking at persons dying or death. So let's look at the options. So keep that in mind. So we look at the options. A, the number of births per 1,000 individuals in a population. B, the number of deaths per 1,000 individuals in a population. C, the number of individuals entering a population through immigration. Or D, the number of individuals leaving a population through emigration. We know mortality deals with death, so the answer that has that in it is B, the number of deaths per 1,000 individuals in a population. So the answer there is B. An excess of births over deaths is called, if there are more births than deaths, A, natural increase, B, natural decrease, C, population explosion, or D, excessive births. So we know that the answer is A, natural increase, because the population is increasing naturally. Births is a natural thing. An excess of deaths over births is called either A, fertility rate, B, an aging population, C, population explosion, or D, natural decrease. If we know that births causes natural increase, obviously with deaths, an excess of deaths over births would be D, natural decrease. How is death rate calculated? So here they are asking you for the formula for death rate. Anytime, so I'll just put this a plug in here. Anytime we're looking at the rates, birth, deaths, migration of a population, they always measure it per 1,000. So that is a hint. So based on, we know that it's per 1,000 and they're asking about deaths. So a number of births over the total population by 1,000, we know that's incorrect because they're saying here the number of births, we're talking about the death rate. B, the number of deaths over total population by 100. While this is close, I would have just indicated that it's done per 1,000. So that is incorrect as well. C, the number of deaths over the total population by 1,000, or D, the number of deaths over total population by 10,000. We know it is C, number of deaths over the total population by 1,000. A person leaving his or her own country to settle in another is, so when we're looking at persons either leaving or coming in a country, we know it's one, migration. But how do we distinguish the two? I usually say the hint is the spelling with the I, immigration, I meaning in, so persons coming into a country, and the one with the spelling with a E, emigration, we could say E stands for exit, so it means persons leaving a country. So the question is, a person leaving his own country to settle in another is A, an emigrant, B, an immigrant, C, a refugee, or D, an illegal immigrant. So based on what I just said, it would be A, an immigrant, because the person is exiting the country. The difference in the number of people who immigrate and emigrate is known as. So this is the formula in a written format. So immigration minus emigration gives you what? Population decrease, net migration, population increase, or natural increase. The answer is B, net migration. So the formula for net migration is immigration, that's the one with the I, minus emigration, the one with the E. Which of these is not an example of forced migration? So we know forced migration is where persons will forced to leave their country. So they're asking here for not. We're looking at this keyword as well. What is not an example of force, making persons have to leave? So A, leaving a country because of a natural disaster. That is a forced migration, an example of a forced migration. Because the entire country could have been destroyed or damaged, all of that. So you have to leave. B, leaving a country because of conflict. So, for example, conflict could be war. You have to leave your country because you are not safe. So that is an example of forced migration. C, leaving a country due to crime rates and political trouble. That is a form of forced migration because you feel threatened. Or D, leaving a country to join family in another country. You're not necessarily forced to do so. So the answer is D, leaving a country to join a family in another country. All of the following are characteristics of urban societies except. So again, we're looking at this word here, except, so not. So we know that urban societies are towns and cities. So let's look at the characteristics and we'll see which is not a characteristic of urban society. So A, proper infrastructure. B, low levels of crime. C, high pollution levels. Or D, high density of population. So which is not a characteristic of urban societies? The answer there is B, low levels of crime. Because we know in urban societies there's a lot of crowding and all of that. So B is the correct answer there. A family migrating to a new society can have all of the following except. So again, looking at except here, that's what they're asking for. That is not. A, broader experience in the new society. B, children who accept permissive practices of the new society. C, conflict between their values and those of the host society. D, non assimilation of the cultural values of the host country. So, if you are migrating to a new society, you can have a broader experience in the new society. So, that is part of it. Children who accept permissive practices of the new society, well, yes, because they now live and belong there. So they accept the norm or the practices of that society. Conflict between their values and those of the host society, definitely, because you might have different values and the society that you are now in, it may be different from yours. So that is where the conflict will come about. So the answer is D, non assimilation of the cultural values of the host country. Next question. Which of the following are migration pull factors? So we know with pull factors, those are the factors that will attract you to the another country. So let's look at the options. Better quality of life. That will definitely pull or attract persons to another country. Closeness to family members. That will attract persons as well to another country. Employment opportunities. You have better employment opportunities, so that will attract you or pull you to another country. And higher quality of education, that as well will pull or attract you to another country. So the answer is A, all of the above. Let's look at the next question. People migrating for work purposes at certain times of year is known as A, employment migration, B, seasonal migration, C, temporary migration, or D, tourism. So you're migrating for work and it's specific times. So it's B,
Seasonal.
seasonal migration. In Trinidad, Ramlal moved from Chaguanas to live in Point Fortin, where he is employed in the natural gas plant. So he moved from one place in Trinidad to another place in Trinidad. The above is an example of A, internal migration, B, external migration, C, social mobility, or D, brain drain. So movement within the country is known as A, internal migration. Next question. Richard leaves a good job in Trinidad to migrate to Canada. This is an example of A, unpatriotic behavior,
Bad
B,
decisions.
international migration, C, foreign interference, or D, desertion. So he moves from one country to another country, which is outside of the region. So this is B, international migration. Next question here. Migration of skilled people from a country is referred to as, we know this. So in my chart, let me just See, you all answer this. Migration of skilled people from a country is known as what? Very good, Annalise. Brain drain. C, where you have persons leaving, skilled persons leaving a country, which is known as brain drain. Next question. A country is said to be overpopulated if the resources A, outstrip the demand for them, B, cannot maintain the population, C, are not exploited by the population, or D, are sufficient to maintain the population. So let's look at what we know overpopulation to be. Overpopulation is when there are not enough resources to meet the needs of the population. So the answer that fits closely to that is if the resources cannot maintain the population, which is B. So overpopulation again is where the resources are not sufficient for the population or cannot meet the needs of the population. Which of the following is not a problem caused by overpopulation? So we're looking at not a problem. A, pollution, definitely. B, diseases, and especially this quick spread of diseases. C, low level of education, or D, employment. The answer is D, employment. It is not a problem caused by overpopulation. Next question. Which of the following is not, again, that word not, a way to solve the problem of overpopulation? A, extend and intensify agriculture. So when I'm finished reading the options, we will go back to what each will mean for overpopulation. B, invest in new industries. C, encourage migration in other countries. Or D, cut back on economic development. So when we look at A, it says to extend and intensify agriculture. This will solve the problem of overpopulation because persons will now have to move to perhaps rural areas where agriculture is done and where the jobs are available there, so we can deal with the we can deal with the problem of overpopulation in the like urban areas or the cities. B, invest in new industries. This could solve overpopulation as well because when you invest in new industries, again, persons will more than likely move closer to where they can get employment. And this will cause the overpopulation problem, like in cities areas, to be decreased. C, encourage migration to other countries. Well, or D, cut back on economic development. Cutting back on economic development is not a way to solve the problem of overpopulation. So D, cut back on economic development, is the answer. Because yes, when you encourage people to move to other countries, it will solve your problem. But cutting back on economic development is not a way to solve overpopulation. Optimum population is said to exist where there is. So we're looking at optimum population. This is where there is sufficient resources and there is the population is able to make use of the resources that are available. So the resources available, the population available, they make use of it sufficiently. So this is what is optimum population. So let's look at the options to see which is the closest to what we know as optimum population. So A, the highest level of productivity in the service industry. B, the highest level of productivity in the manufacturing industry. C, all members in the labor force are employed, or D, the greatest national output per head of the population. So the answer there is D, because this is where the resources, the population makes use of the resources. So the answer there is D. Next question. An increase in the population of a country through migration can lead to all of the following problems except. So you're looking at this word here, except. So A, employers paying low wages to migrants. B, decrease in the level of unemployment. C, strain on the economic resources and social services of the host country. Or D, competition for jobs between migrants and citizens. So let's look at the question again. An increase in the population of a country through migration can lead to all of the following problems, except we know that yes, there will be competition for jobs between migrants and citizens. We know that it can have a strain on the economic resources and social services of the host country. We know also that employers can pay low wages to the migrants. So the answer is B, a decrease in the level of unemployment. It doesn't mean because we have persons coming in, the level of unemployment will decrease. No, more than likely it will increase. Which of the following are not benefits of self-employment? So we know that self-employment, when you work for yourself, and all of that good stuff. So let's look at the options. 1, a regular set income. So we're looking at what is not, which of the following are not benefits. A regular set income. So this already is not a benefit because you're working for yourself, things could be different every month. 2, holiday and sick pay. Also. 3, managing your own workload and working hours. So we know this is a benefit of self-employment. And 4, maternity pay. So the answers we're looking for, or the answer option that we're looking for, has to have 1, 2, and 4, which is C. So C is the answer there. Which of the following factors may contribute to unemployment in a country? So just somebody was asking in the chat, which paper is this? When I started, I would have indicated, because I know that you all would have been doing past papers all the time. What I would have done, I would have gotten a pool of questions and just created one document, as opposed to just doing past paper January 2023, June 2024. So it's just a pool of questions. So it's not a specific past paper question, because you all have been, I'm very sure persons here may have already done from since probably 2000 straight up to now in past papers. So you all know it, you all are familiar with it. So I would have just pulled questions from all over to create one document. Will I be sending the document? If it is necessary, I can. That one shouldn't be a problem. Right. So let's continue. Which of the following factors may contribute to unemployment in a country? So what could cause unemployment in a country? 1, a struggling economy, for sure. So let's hold that one in mind. 2, lack of available jobs. Yes, this could contribute to unemployment. 3, lack of skills. Definitely could contribute to unemployment. And 4, too many people train in one area, which can also contribute to lack of unemployment. So the answer is A, all of the above. What type of education focuses on behavior, ethics, and being responsible? That will be moral. Anything is talking about behavior, ethics, it's moral. So the answer is B. Which of these is not, looking at the word not, a benefit of being employed? A regular, reliable monthly salary, that is definitely a benefit. B, freedom to decide working hours. Well, I don't know where some people work, but regular employment, you can decide your working hours. C, holiday pay. Yes, definitely a benefit. And D, sick pay, another benefit as well. So the answer is B, freedom to decide working hours. Another question here. Seema is a university graduate in civil engineering. She is employed as an office secretary. Which term best describes her position? So the options are A, overemployed, B, unemployed, C, employed, and D, underemployed. So we know in terms of A, overemployed means that you don't have the qualifications for the job that you are working in. So you were employed. Let us say, for instance, all you have is an entry level. So you probably just finished CSEC, but you got a position that would have required a master's, you are overemployed. So we know it's not that. B, unemployed. It says that she is employed, so we know that that is not correct as well. Employed, that just doesn't make sense there because she is employed as an office secretary. And the underemployed, which means that she is more qualified for the position that she holds. So the answer is indeed D. She is underemployed because it means that she is more qualified for the position that she holds. So it is D. Which of the following is a disadvantage of being self employed? A, all losses borne by the business belongs to the owner. That sounds like a disadvantage. B, the owner does not have the freedom to make policy decisions. C, well, if I'm the owner, I can make any decisions. C, there are lengthy legal formalities in setting up a business. If you want to do it, you will. And D, the market for the product or service provided is always in the neighborhood. The answer, of course, is A. All losses borne by the business belongs to the owner. That is the greatest disadvantage of being self-employed. Unemployment can be reduced by A, increasing agricultural production, B, importing more food, C, the creation of technology and industries, or D, encouraging and inviting more immigrants. So let's look at the options. Let's start with D. If you encourage and invite more immigrants, that means unemployment will increase because you now have more people competing for jobs. C says the creation of technology and industry. If technology is introduced, then the employment rate could increase because we don't need persons, we have technology. We just need somebody to either flip a switch or control something from their phone or their laptop. So it wouldn't be reduced. It could increase because you're replacing the human effort or the human work by technology. Be importing more food, that doesn't make any sense there. Or A, increasing agricultural production. If you increase agricultural production, it will indeed reduce unemployment because now you can hire people in different aspects of the agricultural production. So the answer is A. What type of workers are farmers? We have primary, secondary, tertiary, or quaternary. So for each one primary type of worker, this deals with the extraction of raw materials. Secondary looks at the production of the raw materials that were extracted by the primary industry. Tertiary workers provides services, and quaternary deals with services in terms of research. So the answer would be A, because they are looking at the extraction of raw materials. People who work in factories are called blank workers. So I would have just said what each one before was. So the answer will be D, secondary workers, which looks at the production of the raw materials from the primary industry. And that is what a factory worker is. They get the raw materials and they produce it into something. What set of jobs belong to tertiary industry? So as I said before, tertiary industry deals with providing a service. So let's see. We have A, canning, fruit, refining oil or building. We have B, farming, mining, fishing. We have C, research, analysis, or communications. And we have D, tour guide, chef, and nursing. So the answer will be the option that provides a service, which is D. Sorry, C. Looking at research, analysis. No. So the answer is D, providing a service, because quaternary will be C. Somebody tampered with my answer sheet here. So the answer is D. Tour guide, nursing, and chef. Because as I said before, tertiary deals with providing a service. The one with the research, analysis, and communications, that will be quaternary. So look, we have a question here in quaternary. The quaternary sector consists of A, workers in the first stage of production of a good. B, workers who use raw materials provided by the primary sector. C, highly skilled workers such as computer programmers. Or D, workers involved in providing services for the secondary sector. So in my Zoom chat here, the first one, workers in the first stage of production of a good. Which sector that falls under? First stage of production of a good.
Primary.
Very good. Primary. B, workers who use raw materials provided by the primary sector. Which sector this will be?
Secondary.
Secondary. Good. C, highly skilled workers such as computer programmers.
Quaternary.
Quaternary. Good. And D, workers involved in providing services for the secondary sector.
Tertiary.
Tertiary. Excellent. So the answer is C. Highly skilled workers such as computer programmers. Which of these lists contains only renewable resources? We know that renewable resources are those that, when used, can be replenished and replaced. So, which of these here contains renewable resources? A, fish, oil, timber, sand, bauxite. Do we only have renewable resources there? No, we do not. Because oil and bauxite is non-renewable. B, hydropower, coal, sunlight, and wood. Do we only have renewable resources there? All right, so let me see what's happening in my chat. Let's go to C. Solar power, coal, asphalt, and coffee. We don't only have non-renewable renewable resources there because coal is our non-renewable resource. And D, sugar, banana, forest, and wind power, all of which are renewable resources. So the answer is D. So this is the list that only contains renewable resources. Which of these countries is not one of the Greater Antilles? Not. So as you would have noticed from last year, 2025, they are bringing geography questions looking at placement of Caribbean islands. So you should and you must know where the Caribbean islands are, what belong to the Greater Antilles and the Lesser Antilles. So we know the Greater Antilles are the larger islands, those more to the north, which is Cuba, Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Haiti, and then we have these smaller islands coming down from the north side there, which includes Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, Barbados, and Lucia, St. Vincent, all of those other islands. So, which is not one of the Greater Antilles, we have Cuba, Dominica, Haiti, and Jamaica. We know that the answer is B, Dominica. A Choro, please map. What is this map? I remember this came last year in at first format, changing the format, and some teachers didn't teach the students this aspect, and a lot of children were lost. So this map is a map that shows how a population is, the population on a map. They use, so the answers say, the options here is similar to a dot map. It shows population density. It does not show population distribution. Shows the seas which surround the country. So obvious wrong answer is D. C is another obvious wrong answer because it does show population distribution. So the answer is B. It shows population density because it shows like how much persons are in an area. Not accurate like a dot map, but it uses like light coloring, dark coloring, different colors to show the population density. Going into regional development. Sustainable development is defined as A, protection and conservation of the environment, the benefits which the use of technology brings to the manufacturing sector, introducing programs which will bear fruits into the future, implementing building codes which will help to withstand hurricane and earthquakes. We know that sustainable development is preserving for the future generation, making use sufficiently of what we have now for the benefit of the future generation. So it is obviously a protection and conservation of the environment. Which of the following is the best example of sustainable development? Programs which limit the size of families, introducing solar energy to generate electricity, reducing the food import bill, putting plans to curb foreign investments. So here, we know sustainable development is making good use or proper use of our resources so that it will have for the future generation, and the answer here will be B. Introducing solar energy to generate electricity. That means you're making proper use of the resources which will be beneficial for future generations. How does climate change impact human health? We know that climate change is dangerous because it looks at global warming, it's a consequence of global warming and all of that. So, how does it impact human health? Decreased risk of infectious diseases, which is not correct. B, enhanced food security, which is not correct as well. Improved air quality. We know that is not what climate change does. And increased health, heat related illnesses. This would be correct because a consequence of climate change is global warming, and that is where the hole in the ozone layer is becoming bigger, and more heat is the heat rays or the sun rays are being able to directly make contact with earth and all of that. So we know it's heat related illnesses. How does high level of indebtedness impact the development prospects of Caribbean nation? So how does the high level of indebtedness or being or owing impact development prospects of Caribbean nation? So what impact does owing high levels have on Caribbean nation? It encourages investment in infrastructure projects. We know that's incorrect because if you're owing people, it can't encourage investment. It increases foreign aid and assistance. That's incorrect as well because if you are owing high large amount of money, other people will not want to invest. C, it limits the government's ability to invest in education and healthcare because you don't have the money that the country is making has to go back to pay back. So you can't do what you want to do for your country. So C looks like it. And D, it promotes economic diversification, which as well is not. So the answer is C. It limits the government's ability to invest in education and healthcare. Which statement best explains the impact of technological advances on industries? So we're looking for one that best explains the impact that technological advances has. So A, industries shape technological advancements more than they are affected. B, rapid technological changes require industries to innovate and update their practices to meet new demands. C, technological advancements have little impact on how industries operate. D, technology mainly affects the leisure activities of the population, not industries. So based on the options there, we know that the last two, C and D, does not best explain the impact. Because saying that it has little impact, that's incorrect. And saying that it mainly affects the leisure activities, that has nothing to do with it. So let's look at the two options. Industries shape technological advancements more than they are affected. It's actually the other way around. So A is not the answer either. So the answer there is B. Rapid technological changes require industries to innovate and update their practices to meet new demands. Next question. How can technology best contribute to the productivity of industries in the Caribbean? So the options are by creating more job opportunities, B, by improving the efficiency of production processes, C, by increasing foreign exchange earnings, D, by reducing government revenue. So we're looking at how technology best contributes to the productivity by creating more job opportunities. No, because, well, technology kind of replaces or can replace persons' jobs by improving the efficiency of production processes. So, yes, that sounds like what technology will do, improve efficiency. C, by increasing foreign exchange earnings. That doesn't directly have an effect on it, so no. And by reducing government revenue. Actually, no, it can increase if it improves the efficiency. So the answer there again is B. So we enter regional integration now. How can regional integration tackle economic challenges in the Caribbean? So, how can the Caribbean region coming together help economic challenges? A, by isolating countries from international markets. So, I don't know if you all notice as well, when I'm reading the question, I will rephrase it or put it in a different way. So, you can do that as well to help you to understand what the question is asking. A, by isolating countries from international markets. B, by limiting trade agreements with other regions. C, by pooling resources and expertise to address common challenges. And D, by promoting competition between neighboring nations. So let's look at how coming together could tackle economic challenges. The first one, no, because it says by isolating countries. So no, by limiting trade with other regions, that doesn't make sense because if you limit trade, you wouldn't make any money. By pooling the resources and expertise to address common challenges, which makes sense because I always use the example of the bananas. If they are unable, if one country is unable to produce bananas to supply a larger country, they can pool their resources with another and they both can benefit from the sale of bananas there. And by promoting competition between neighboring nations, no, that's not what they want to do. So the answer there is C. Which of the following best illustrates the concept of regional integration as a strategy to address challenges in the Caribbean? So we know that regional integration is the Caribbean countries coming together to meet economic challenges and all of that. So, which best illustrates the concept of regional integration? A, collaborating with neighboring countries to establish a joint healthcare system. B, focusing solely on internal development without considering external factors. C, implementing national policies to boost economic growth. And D, increasing tariffs on imported goods to protect domestic industries. So we can eliminate. So when we look at C, it said B, sorry, it says focusing solely on internal development. That is defeating the purpose of regional integration because that is looking at your own country, internal development, without considering other Caribbean countries. So B is out. Then we have C, they say implementing national policies. That means you're only implementing policies for your country again. So that does not illustrate the concept of regional integration. So we have increasing tariffs, which is increasing tax on imported goods. Again, that will not that does not illustrate the concept of regional integration. So the answer is A. Collaborating with neighboring countries to establish a joint healthcare system. You're coming together. Which of the following is not an economic indicator? So when we look at economic indicators, we look at the cost of living or the standard of living, GNP and GDP of the country, and the per capita income. So, which is not an economic indicator, is education. How does comparing GDP, which is gross domestic product, and GNP, gross national income, help economists understand economic development in a country? Oh, what happened there? Oh, okay. When I move it like that, it does that. Okay. So A, it allows economists to see the direct impact of domestic policies on economic growth. We're looking at both GDP and GNP. This is inside and outside of the region, inside and outside of a country, sorry. It determines the exact amount of taxes and costs a country has paid over the year. So definitely not. It helps to track changes in the quality of life and job availability over time. It shows the economic contribution of residents living abroad compared to those within the country indicating the level of international economic activity. So D is the answer. If you know anything about GNP and GDP, we're looking at residents outside. One looks at the income that is received from persons or residents who are outside receiving an income, and one deals with the workers inside the country. So it shows the economic contribution of residents living abroad compared to those within the country. Which one of the following statements best describes the impact of unemployment and underemployment in the Caribbean? So we're looking at the impact of unemployment and underemployment. They encourage entrepreneurship and innovation, which is a good impact because when persons realize, okay, I'm unemployed, I will try to either create my own business or underemployed. They have no effect on the economy, which is not true. They lead to increased social benefits, actually not, and they make poverty and income inequality, sorry, worse. So the answer there is D, because if there are high levels of unemployment and underemployment, the ripple effect of that is poverty because you're unable to provide a basic needs. And underemployment looks at, we spoke about it before, where persons are overqualified for the position that they hold. So that deals with income inequalities because I'm not being paid for my skill set or my education level. How does the lack of diversification in industries contribute to economic vulnerability in the Caribbean? So if you don't have a lack of, if you have a lack of diversity, so we only have specific industries in the Caribbean, that's what this is saying here. How does this contribute to economic vulnerability if there are only specific industries in the Caribbean region? So A, it increases resilience to natural disasters. That's incorrect. It makes countries vulnerable to changes in supply and demand. C, it promotes sustainable development. Or D, it reduces dependency on external markets. So the best answer is B, because when persons are moving away from the industries that are in the Caribbean region, then what happens to that country or the region itself? So the answer there is B. Caribbean regional integration can best be described as attempts by Caribbean countries to, we know regional integration is when they come together to help each other in terms of economic, social, political. So let's see what the options are saying. A, gain independence from the mother country. No. B, from CARICOM to deal with transnational corporations. CARICOM is actually an institution to help with regional integration, but it doesn't describe the attempts. C, formulate a West Indies cricket team. No. And D, unite the Caribbean people economically, politically, and socially. So that is regional integration. The West Indies Federation represents the first stage of integration and began in. So we should all know when the West Indies Federation came into existence, which is B 1958. In which country is the headquarters of the Association of Caribbean States based? So thankfully, they didn't bring any of these specifically in the paper two. So they just might bring it in the paper one. So it is good that we know that it is in Trinidad and Tobago. The ACS headquarters is in Trinidad and Tobago. Which of the following is not a major objective of CSME? A single currency. B, free movement of capital. C, free movement of skilled labor. D, right of establishment. So the answer there is A, because the objective is not to create a single currency across the Caribbean region. However, it is to ensure that there is free movement of capital and resources so that persons could establish businesses in different Caribbean countries. Which of the following is not an objective of CARICOM? A. Trade liberalization by member states. B. The harmonization of fiscal incentives. C. Common external tariff. Or D. To gain republic status for members, looking at which is not an objective. Their objective was not to gain any republic status for members. Anything that dealt with economy and coming together and removing barriers to trade and all of that, that is CARICOM, but not D. So D is the answer there. The main reason for the creation of the Caribbean community, again, which is CARICOM, is A, the need for economic cooperation, B, the formation of character, C, the existence of one type of people, D, the maintenance of the University of the West Indies. So the answer there obviously is A, the need for economic cooperation, because CARICOM wasn't formed to form character, not for one type of people, and also not the maintenance of UE. They were formed to deal with the economic problems by economic cooperation among the member states. The right of establishment describes a person's right to build a home, employment in any member country, live anywhere they like, work or set up business in a member state without restrictions. It is D, work or set up business in a member state without restriction. A group of countries that trade together without restriction is A, federation, B, a single economy, C, a single market, or D, regional integration. The answer is C, a single market. What is a trading bloc? So from our knowledge, we know that a trading bloc is a group of countries that decide among themselves that they have special deals or they remove barriers to trade among themselves. So that is a trading bloc. So let's look at the responses close to the knowledge that we have. A country that restricts trades with its neighbors. Well, we know that's incorrect because it actually promotes trade with its members without restrictions. B, a group of countries that give each other special trading deals and conditions. So that sounds like it. C, a group of countries that work together to promote regional integration. Yes, but how? And D, a single country that dominates regional trade. We know that's incorrect as well. The answer that is clear and closest to what a trading bloc is B, a group of countries that give each other special trading deals and conditions. All of the following are benefits derived from a protected regional market, except. So we're looking at that word except as well. I find my Zoom chat quiet here, boy. Everybody's zoning apparently. I'll take it as that. So all of the following are benefits derived from a protected regional market, except A, both agricultural and industrial developments are facilitated among member countries. B, efficiency and minimum cost of production can be achieved. C, local industries can cooperate to export their excess products, or D, more production will motivate greater local consumption of excess commodities. So we're looking at the benefits that can be derived from protecting regional markets. So A is a benefit. Both in agricultural and industrial developments are facilitated among member countries. B, efficiency and minimum cost of production can be achieved is a benefit. C, local industries can cooperate to export the excess product is a benefit. So the non-benefit there is more production will motivate greater local consumption of excess commodities. That's not making much sense there. So we know that is not the benefit. Unity within CARICOM results in all of the following except. So we're looking at the one that is not, that does not result in unity. Make it possible for member states to achieve greater self-reliance, improve the bargaining power of the community in relation to foreign countries, reduce the burden of taxation on citizens in member states, reduce the cost of functional cooperation. From those answers, we know for sure it's A because it talks about self-reliance, and that is not what unity within CARICOM will result in. Nothing with self-reliance. Because remember, we know that CARICOM, by extension, regional integration is coming together. Which one of the following is most necessary for economic integration? A, the development of a common currency. B, the controlled importation of commodities outside of CARICOM. C, removal of barriers of trade among member countries. D, individual trade agreements with foreign countries. So we know for sure it's not D because we're looking at integration and it doesn't deal with anything individual because we're looking at coming together. Developing a common currency, no. So it has to be between B and C, and the answer there is C because we're looking at economic integration. So when you remove the barriers of trade among member countries where you can trade freely, this is where you'll have the economic integration. An agreement reached among CARICOM countries can be termed as unilateral, bilateral, multilateral, or international. So unilateral will be one, between one, or belonging to one country. So we know that's not correct. Bilateral, when we're looking at bilateral agreements, we're looking at between two countries. Multilateral, looking at several countries. International, we're looking at outside of the region. So we know A, B, and D is incorrect. So the answer is C. Functional cooperation in CARICOM involves cooperation in A, trade, taxation, migration. B, health, education, meteorology. C, politics, business, cooperatives. D, agriculture, mining, and tourism. So let's tap into our knowledge of what functional cooperation is. So functional cooperation in CARICOM is like activities that will improve the quality of life of the citizens in the region. So it looks at sharing resources and services to deal with the challenges that the come with the Caribbean region face. So when we look at what it involves the cooperation, and it will be B, health, education, and meteorology. So health, because they pool the resources together to deal with any public health or pool any medical resources to deal with any public health crisis. Education, looking at promoting education, and we can see that in terms of like UE, where there's several campuses of the same university in the Caribbean region. And also when we look at meteorology, that just looks at disaster management, how well the region is able to help and to prepare, and also looking at disaster relief efforts and all of that. So the closest answer there, or not the closest, but the answer there is B, health, education, and meteorology. This two? Okay. Which of the following is not a factor that hinders regional integration in the Caribbean? Well, the answer already highlighted the common cultural heritage. Because we know that the factors that promotes regional integration is what we have in common. So they ask what is not a factor that hinders, and it is common cultural heritage, because we have that in common. Everything else hinders regional integration. The location and size, insularity, and also, of course, unequal distribution of resources. A factor which puts a damper on regional integration is A, common economic problems of member states. B, member states are all third world developing countries. B, the divisive influence of slavery and indentureship. C, the different strategies used by member states for economic development. So this is saying here the same thing. What hinders regional integration? It will be D, different strategies used by member states for economic developments. Because now, when we have the different strategies, it puts the region in competition against each other. And that, of course, we know that's against what regional integration is. Globalization is the factor which, so we know globalization is where the world is made into one large borderless zone whereby goods and services can be purchased or received from anywhere in the world. So A, promotes Caribbean regional integration. B, hinders Caribbean regional integration. C, prevents brain drain from the Caribbean. C, causes the production of causes the production of Caribbean goods to be expensive. Because of globalization, there's a lot of competition now with foreign markets. So that means it is A. It will promote Caribbean regional integration, because now we have to come together to deal with the effects of globalization and be able to competitively compete with international markets. Which of the following is not a response, which is not responsible for globalization? A, air transport, B, the internet, C, communicable diseases, and D, the global media. Of course, it is C, communicable diseases, because globalization, air transport, is responsible for that, internet, and the global media. How do advancements in information and communication technologies like social media impact the preservation of cultural heritage in the Caribbean? So we're looking at the advancements in ICT, and they specifically spoke of social media impact the preservation of cultural heritage. A, by diminishing cultural practices through globalization. B, by enabling the sharing and preservation of traditions. C, by encouraging assimilation into dominant cultures. Or D, by limiting access to cultural information. Well, we know ICT, especially social media, because we now have or we now can share different aspects of our culture across the world using social media. So the answer now is B, by enabling and sharing the preservation of traditions. What is a common economic and social issue faced by many Caribbean countries? Free healthcare, low unemployment rates, state of the art infrastructure, or unplanned pregnancy. So we're looking at an issue. So free healthcare, low unemployment rate, state of the art infrastructure is not an issue faced by, that's actually a good thing. So the issue there is the unplanned teenage pregnancy. Which one of the following is not, again we have not, a major challenge for the Caribbean region in accessing the markets of developed country? So A, differences in resource distribution. B, difficulty in trade agreements. C, high cost of exports. Or D, high levels of production. So the answer is D. This is not a major challenge for the Caribbean region in accessing markets of developed country. They have high levels of production. That is not a challenge for us. That's actually good. How does regional integration contribute to addressing economic shocks and natural disasters in the Caribbean? So the question is asking how coming together helps to deal with economic and natural disasters. So let's see what the options are. By exacerbating the impacts of the disasters through increased dependency, by facilitating cooperation and support among member states. So yes. By isolating countries from external assistance, definitely not. By providing financial aid to affected countries. Good. So we know which two it is. It is 2 and 4, which is C. All the Caribbean countries have the greatest potential for tourism, bauxite, bananas, or forestry. Definitely we know the answer. What's the answer? Somebody in the chat? Thank you. A. Which of the following best describes health tourism in the Caribbean? We know in the Caribbean region, health tourism looks at resorts that offer spa treatments. That is the type of health tourism that we have in the Caribbean region. So let's see which answer is close to what we know as health tourism in the Caribbean region. So A, health tourism in the Caribbean is limited to exercise opportunities. That's not correct. That's not what we know. B, health tourism is in its early stages of development in some Caribbean countries. Neither what we know of health tourism. C, health tourism is primarily focused on spa treatments and relaxation therapies. Yes, that's what we know is health tourism. Health tourism is well established and widely available in all Caribbean countries. So the answer there is C, because we know what is health tourism. Which one of the following is not a type of tourism product? Ecotourism, foreign tourism, health tourism, heritage tourism. The answer is B, there's nothing as foreign tourism. Which of the following best describes the role of tourism in promoting regional integration? Tourism facilitates economic cooperation but has little impact on cultural heritage. We know that is far from the truth. Tourism fosters social cohesion and unity while strengthening regional ties. Okay, that sounds good. Tourism initiatives are limited to individual countries and do not contribute to regional integration. We know that is incorrect. Tourism initiatives primarily focus on economic growth and infrastructure development. We know that is not correct, so the answer is B. Tourism fosters social cohesion and unity while strengthening economic ties. So, we have come to the end of one paper or one paper document. We will take a break for about 15 minutes because people complain that the 10 minutes are too short. So, we will reconvene at, let's see, what's the time now? What's the time now? Oh, I forget how to wash on my hand. So that will be your time. That'll be 6:55. We will reconvene at 6:55. So your 15-minute break starts now. Right. The function of socialization of children begins in the. So you can put your answer in the chat. Okay, I already see. Thank you, Shaniqua. B, in the family. Which of the following are roles of parents? So our options are allowing children freedom to do what they desire. We know that's not correct. Correcting children when they make mistakes. Yes. Guiding and counseling children. Yes. Providing adequate security for them. Yes. So we're looking for the option that has 2, 3, and 4, which is D. Thank you, Kyra. Number 3, which one of the following forms of marriage is legally accepted in most Caribbean countries? We would have seen that in a question in the last past paper there. Yes, so it's monogamous, which is marriage from marriage of one person to another. Which of the following stages of growth of an individual usually poses the greatest physical challenge for parents? Childhood, adolescence, adulthood, or senescence? B, adolescence. Yes. All of the following are traits of a successful marriage. We would have seen that, except, however, these options are different. Understanding for each other, a willingness to compromise, respect for each other, or authoritarian attitude of a partner. Yes, we have D, the same response there, authoritarian attitude of a partner. Another repeat question: problems in a marriage can best be solved by all of the following except C, resorting to alcohol instead of abuse. That is okay if you didn't abuse, but you resort to alcohol. All of the following are acceptable grounds for divorce except infidelity, irreconcilable differences, incurable illness, or abuse. C, incurable illness. Good. Divorce rates have risen over the past few years because of a rise in AIDS cases, migration of one spouse, the rise in both husbands and wives having careers, or marriage of young and inexperienced persons. Good. So the answer is D, marriage of young and inexperienced persons. All of the following are family practices that can help decrease divorce rates, except families should recognize each member as unique authority roles should be shared, making unilateral decisions, or there should be shared spiritual sessions. Yes, the answer is C, making unilateral decisions. Because that means you alone making the decisions then. Uni means one or one person alone. 10. All of the following are qualities of a good leader except intelligence, tolerance, authoritarianism, or honesty. C. Authoritarianism. Good, Kyra. For which of the following purposes are voluntary groups formed? To provide a service to the community, yes. To support a worthy cause, yes. To raise funds for their own use, no. To combine resources for a common good, yes. So we're looking for 1, 2, and 4. So that is B. Good, Kyra. Which of the following facilitates group cohesion? Democratic leadership, cooperation among members, yes. Commitment and loyalty, yes. Stringent application of sanctions, no. So we're looking for 1, 2, and 3, which is A. Thank you, Annalise. The following are characteristics of an institution except a formal organization structure, strict adherence to rules, permanent and long lasting goals, or the authoritarian leadership. Very good, Jasara. Authoritarian leadership. Governments are responsible for all of the following functions except making laws, keeping law and order, raising funds for general elections, or D, maintaining relations with other countries. Good, C. Thank you. The head of state in a republic is the 15. C, president. Good. The highest court of appeal in the Commonwealth Caribbean is the A, Appeal Court, B, Supreme Court, C, Caribbean Court of Justice, or D, Industrial Court. The correct answer there is C, the Caribbean Court of Justice. The highest court of appeal. The court that finally settles disputes between employer and employee is the A, Supreme Court, B, Privy Council, C, Coroner's Court, or D, Industrial Court. Very good, D, Industrial Court. The intentions of a political party, if it wins an election, are outlined in we did this before, A, manifesto. All of the following are functions of cabinet, except A, making laws, B, introducing policies, C, formulating national budget, or D, selecting ambassadors. Yep, the correct answer is D. The cabinet doesn't select any ambassador. In a republic, a bill becomes a law when it is signed by the A, President, B, Prime Minister, C, Attorney General, or D, Solicitor General. Yes, A is correct. The rights and duties of citizens are usually contained in the A, Hansard, B, Electoral List, C, Constitution, or D, census report. The rights and duties of citizens. The rights and duties are usually contained in the Constitution. I've seen more than one A. The Hansard is where you have all the happenings of the Parliament, records of the Parliament. That is what the Hansard is. The Constitution, where I have all the laws, it also includes the rights and duties of citizens as well. So it's D, the Constitution. 22. Which one of the following is a human right? We have A, the right to life and liberty, the right to join political parties, the right to equality before the law, or freedom of movement. The one that is a human right, it's actually A, the right to life and liberty. That is your right, your human right. All of the following are responsibilities of a citizen except to pay taxes, obey the law, respect the rights of others, or vote in elections. Very good. It is D, vote in elections. That is a right. It's not a responsibility, it is a right. Which of the following education levels are in the correct order? Number 24. Primary, secondary, nursery, tertiary, tertiary, secondary, kindergarten, primary, kindergarten, primary, secondary, tertiary, or secondary, kindergarten, tertiary, primary. Yes, C is correct. Kindergarten, primary, school, secondary school, tertiary. All of the following are aims of education except to obtain employment, transmit the culture of society, develop the spirit of competition, socialize individuals. So, which is not an aim of education? I'm seeing persons saying A, but with an education, and you could obtain employment. So, very good, Tanisha. C, develop the spirit of competition. That is not the aim of education. 26. Primary healthcare refers to treating diseases in primary schools, measures taken to prevent diseases, services offered to treat persons who are ill, or sticking to a healthy diet. Very good. B is the correct answer. I'm seeing B in the chat. A healthy labor force is desirable for all of the following reasons except less absenteeism at work, increased production, increased efficiency, increased salaries for workers. Correct, Annalise D. An healthy labor force is desirable for reasons except you all need to pay attention to these keywords, except and not, and all of that. Which of the following is most important when choosing a career? Talent, skills, and abilities of the individual, salary to be obtained in that career, desire to satisfy parents, or residential mobility of the individual. So this is which is the most important in choosing a career. Which is the most important in choosing a career? Thank you. It is A. Talent, skills, and abilities of the individual. All of the following are functions of the forest except that it A. causes drought, B. prevents soil from erosion, C. maintains the water table, or D. provides a cure for some human ailments. So we're looking at except. A is correct. Very good. Which of the following are benefits of forests? They generate employment opportunities, provide land for housing, promote increased rainfall, or are a source of recreation. So they generate employment opportunities. So one is correct. They provide land for housing. No, because they are forested. Promote increased rainfall, yes. So three also is correct. And are a source of recreation. Yeah, because people go to the forest, hikes and all of that, and to view fauna and flora. So the answer is C, where we have 1, 3, and 4. Very good. Conservation of forests will lead to the beneficial effect of A. Substituting steel for lumber in housing construction. B. Reducing noise pollution. C. Clearing a forest to build more houses. D. Public seminars on the importance of forests. Conservation of forests will lead to the beneficial effect of what? This is when we say conservation of the forest, we mean that not allowing persons to cut down the trees and pollute and all of that. No answers? The answer there is B, reducing noise pollution. Forests assist with that. 32. All of the following are energy sources from fossil fuels except petroleum, geothermal, natural gas, or coal. All of the following are energy sources from fossil fuels except B, geothermal. Why we would have chosen geothermal? Because that comes from within the earth. So you don't have to burn fossil fuels. That's what it is. You don't get it from fossil fuels. It comes from the earth. Geothermal energy. That's the heat from the earth. Solar energy is beneficial because A, it can be monopolized. B, its source is available both day and night. C, it can be stored over a long period. D, it is environmentally friendly. Very good, Tanisha. D is the answer. Water pollution can be reduced by A. Recycling of paper products. B. Installing filters in chimneys. C. Burning your garbage in the backyard. Or D. Using alternative forms of energy for gasoline. Thank you, Tanisha. The answer is A. Recycling of paper products. The main causes of soil erosion are overgrazing of livestock, cutting lawns regularly, deforestation, or shifting cultivation. So, overgrazing of livestock, yes, can cause soil erosion. So, we have to look for an answer with one in it. Cutting lawns regularly, yes. So, two as well. Deforestation, yes. So, three as well. and the shift in cultivation. So shift in cultivation is like slash and burn for all my history students who are here. So it is D, all of the above. Which of the following activities of man led, which of the following activities of man lead to destruction? Mining for bauxite, mining for gold in the riverbeds, pests such as mealybug, forest fires started by intense heat. Very good, Jasara. It is B, mining for gold in the riverbed. Because mining for bauxite, when you're mining for bauxite, it's just like on the surface level. It doesn't cause like a lot of destruction. But mining for gold in the riverbed, you have to go deeper than surface level. Forests can be conserved by all of the following except creation of national parks, strict reforestation programs, public awareness programs on forestry, or selective lumbering. Seeing one answer. Anybody else have any other answers there? So let's go through the answers from D go up. So when they say selective lumbering, they're looking at choosing specific trees to cut down. And in more than likely, it is trees that probably are older, that are falling and breaking already. So selective lumbering, it doesn't have a negative effect on the forest per se. Let's look at C. Public awareness programs on forestry. Well, when you educate the public, will they know? So that is not one. Strict reforestation programs. What is reforestation? This is planting back of trees. So you have a strict program where you're planting back trees. So it is definitely a creation of national parks. Because how you're going to create these parks, you're going to cut down the trees to do so, or cut down forested areas to do so. So the answer is definitely A. Our human resource can be developed by one, better educational opportunities, two, increased population, three, increased health facilities, four, creating employment opportunities. So let's look at the choices we have. Better educational opportunities, definitely that will develop your human resource. Increased population, no. Increased health facilities, yes. Creating employment opportunities, not so much because a lot of the time in employment they look for persons with experience. So which one of the choices is 38? Good, thank you. B. Tertiary level education is provided by kindergarten schools, technical institutes, primary schools, or secondary colleges. B again. Good. Thank you, Josara. Developing the human resource will lead to A. Depletion of non renewable resources, B. Increased unemployment, C. Increased production, or D. Increased work for medical personnel. So when you develop the human resource, what it will lead to? Yes, Shaniqua, it is C, increase production. We are the human resource. And when we are developed in terms of education, good healthcare, all of that production increases. Overpopulation leads to A, depletion of resources, B. Development of housing schemes. C. Reduction in brain drain. Or D. Creation of employment opportunities. Overpopulation leads to, thank you, A. Depletion of resources. 42. A Caribbean country that can be considered to be underpopulated is, and this one persons might not know, but it is C, Barbados. When we look at a country being underpopulated, it means that the resources that are available is too much for the population that is there. So Barbados has a small population, but they have a lot of resources that is not being utilized because the population is small. So that is what we mean by when a country is underpopulated. So in the four of them there, Barbados is considered to be underpopulated. Rapid population growth is caused by, you have some options: lack of proper family planning, lack of education, declining death rate, and net migration, which is negative. So lack of proper family planning definitely increases the population growth. Lack of education as well contributes to population growth. Decline in the death rate, so that means persons are living longer also, and net migration, which is negative. That's actually the opposite. That means the population is declining. So which one of the answers there shows the answer? A, B, 1, 2, and 3, which is A. Very good. All of the following are associated with push factors in migration, except, remember, we said push factors is what forces people to leave the country. So, and the question here is saying except. So, unstable political climate in one's country, yes, that would push you out. Lack of employment opportunities, definitely. Lack of education opportunities, definitely. Large scale industrialization, no. So the answer is D. Thank you, Shaniko. Which of the following is a pull factor in migration? Remember, we say pull factor is what attracts persons. So A, suitable climate conditions. B, the effects of urbanization. C, increase in criminal activities. D, lack of employment opportunities. Very good. The answer is A. Rural to urban migration is caused by, let's look at the option. So we know rural to urban means persons moving from the countryside to the cities and towns. So what causes that? One, availability of jobs in cities. Two, more recreational opportunities in towns. Three, developing industries in rural areas. And four, agriculture work is often seasonal in rural areas. So let's look. So one, availability of jobs in cities. Definitely this causes rural to urban migration. More recreational opportunities in towns, yes, as well. Developing industries in rural areas, no, because persons will stay if industries are developed there. And agricultural work is often seasonal in rural areas. People don't want that instability. So we're looking for the answer that is for number one and number two. So the answer there is actually A, because availability of jobs and more recreational activities in the cities and towns. So A is the answer for number 46. The main organ of CARICOM responsible for implementing policies is the 47. D, the CARICOM Secretariat, that is the person responsible for implementing policies within CARICOM. Population density refers to the number of people living in a country's population that remains stationary, the number of people living per unit area, or the number of people who migrate from a country. So when we're looking at population density, very good ratio, we're looking at the specific area, how much persons live in that area. Good. All of the following affect the size of a country's population except internal migration, sex ratio, death rate, and birth rate. Except which one? What are the three things that affect the size of a population? The three main things. Yes, the answer is B, but the question is what are the three things that affects population? The three main things which affects the size of a population. Anybody? Very good. Birth, death, and migration. Just give me a second here. Just give me a second. Just switching up some devices here. Right. Which number we reach? Which of the following, number 50? Which of the following are generated by Caribbean forests? We have 1, oxygen, 2, rainfall or lumber, 3 is lumber, 4 is paper. Very good, Rachel. D, all of the following. Or all of the above, sorry. Because forest generates, of course, oxygen, rainfall, yes, lumber. That's what we get from the trees, and paper as well. Petroleum is used for all of the following except fuel in internal combustion engines, raw material in constructing motor vehicle engines, the production of pesticides, the manufacture of medicine alternative. Petroleum is used in all of the following except, yes, D, the manufacture of medicine alternative. 52. Solar energy is a viable form of alternative energy because it A, reduces noise pollution, B, results in no pollution, C, is inexpensive to generate, or D, can be stored for lengthy periods. Solar energy is a viable form of alternative energy because it's so I'm seeing some good answers coming in, but actually it's a viable form of alternative energy because it is inexpensive to generate. That is why it is a viable form. So yes, it have the benefits of it reducing noise pollution and no pollution and all of that, but it is inexpensive. So it doesn't reduce noise pollution actually. It's not a factor, contributing factor to reducing noise pollution. So that wouldn't be the answer. Resulting in no pollution, not so much, because it's a form of energy and it depending on how it is used. And so the answer is C. In which country is the CARICOM Secretariat located? Do we know which country the CARICOM Secretariat is located? Yes, in Guyana, B. Which of the following reasons facilitate cooperation among Caribbean countries? We have one, our common history, two, unequal distribution of resources, three, common economic problems, and four, similar size of the population. So which one of those are the reasons that promotes cooperation? So one, yes, promotes it. Two, no, not so much, well, not at all. Three, yes, and four, yes. So the answer is D, 1, 3, and 4. Good. Which of the following factors have hindered cooperation among Caribbean nations? We have one, competition between territories for resources, two, different strategies for economic development, three, racial tension between countries, and four, influence of transnational cooperation. So definitely competition between territories for resources. So one has to be in your answer. Different strategies for economic development as well, yes. So two is in your answer as well. Three, racial tension between countries. Yes. And four, influence of transnational corporations. Not so much. So it is A with 1, 2, and 3. Which of the following are main objectives of CARICOM? To facilitate economic integration, to make decisions of national security, to coordinate foreign policy, or to cooperate in providing common services. So, to facilitate economic integration, of course, yes. To make decisions of national security, no, because when you're looking at national security, looking at individual countries. To coordinate foreign policy, yes, because they want to come together, to work together. And to cooperate in providing common services. So, very good. Yes, Rachel and Shaniqua, the answer is D. 57. Trinidad and Guyana have agreed to remove taxation on imports from each other's country. This is an example of a multilateral agreement, of a bilateral agreement, of economic integration, or political cooperation. Very good. It is B, bilateral agreement, because it's between two countries. Which energy source causes the least pollution? Solar, nuclear, petroleum, or biogas? Very good. A, solar energy. Which gas emitted from aerosol cans causes damage to the ozone layer? You have carbon dioxide, oxygen, chlorofluorocarbons, or nitrogen. So in aerosol cans, there is CFCs. Which of them is right? So chlorofluorocarbon is CFC is the abbreviation for chlorofluorocarbons, which is found in aerosol cans, which causes damage to the ozone layer. And number 16, the depletion of the ozone layer will result in global warming, skin cancer, productive soil, and or damage to plant life. So we actually, three of the answers are actually correct, yes. But what is the main result of the depletion of the ozone layer? A, global warming. Good. So let's move to the other paper one that I have here. One time. Same structure. And we might just finish early tonight because we know, as I told my students even before, the amount of repeat questions they bring. Once you do 10 past papers, you can do 10 past paper ones. You can do a paper one with your eye closed. So after this one, we'll take a short break. And then I have June 2025 paper one. We could go through that one and call it a night. Yeah. And could be less like 5. I just use 10 as a big number. But if you're doing past paper questions from, let us say, 2020, COVID, that is 6, well, that is 5, because we're in 2026, 2025, right? And it's 2 per year. So you're doing past paper questions from 2020 straight up to 2025. You will notice how much repeat questions there are. So yes, you could be able to do it with your eye closed. It's that simple. Because remember, it's 2 per year, January and June, January and June. So let's do this one. The legally accepted form of marriage in the Caribbean is B, monogamy. Another repeat, just another way. Does anybody know what is bigamy? Right, so we know bigamy is the illegal practice of being married to more than one person at the same time. Right, so let's go to number 2. The role of women in the Caribbean has drastically changed due to equality of treatment at the workplace, increased educational opportunities, their quest for independence, and the marginalization of the male. So, yes, B is correct. Increased educational opportunities. The modern role of women in the Caribbean has resulted in the women's liberation movement, greater number of women in the male workforce, marginalization of the males, increase in nuclear families. So the modern role of women in the Caribbean has resulted in which of those? So the answer is actually C, marginalization of the males, because with the modern role of women, women are now taking on the roles of the breadwinner. Women are now um, sharing disciplinary responsibilities and all of that. And this is where men feel like if they're useless and they are powerless. So because of this, because of the modern role of women, it results in male marginalization. Which of the following will not result from the promiscuous behavior of teenagers? So which will not? So teenage pregnancy, sexually transmitted diseases, responsible parenting, putting careers in jeopardy. Good. So the answer is C, responsible parenting. The practice of dating and courtship originated with which group of persons? The Arawaks, African slaves, Indian indentured laborers, or Europeans? So yes, Rachel, the answer is D, the Europeans. Because if we go back, the Arawaks, well, these were the indigenous people. They they would have, a lot of it would have been either arranged marriages or marriages within the same tribe. Africans, and they knew already who they were going to marry. African slaves, they were not allowed to have families and all of that. So they were separated from the family. So they didn't have that dating or courtship thing. They were just brought to work and they had to do that. Indian indentured laborers, we know the practice of arranged marriages among the culture, the East Indian culture. So Europeans, they were the ones who brought the culture or the practice of dating and courtship. So very good. Which order should be followed in preparation for marriage? Obtaining formal education, then courtship, then obtaining a job, then investment in property. So, what order do we think should be followed in preparation for marriage? Good. C. So, C says obtaining formal education, then obtaining a job, investing in property, and then courtship. Why courtship is that? Because courtship is when you are getting to know the person that you are going to marry. So that means you already have everything else set and you're ready to settle down to marry. Good. Conflict between adolescents and their parents is often the result of industrious parents, the generation gap, protective parents, or divorced parents. The answer is B, the generation gap. We know the generation gap is that conflict between parents and their children on issues such as dress, friends, music, and all of that. Conflict among family members may result from praying together, competition for attention, spending leisure time together, having meals together. Good, so the answer is B, competition for attention. Which one of the following is not an advantage of the nuclear family? The family unit is often closely knit. There is usually more space and accommodation. There is often little privacy. Basic needs are more easily met. Good, the answer is C. There is often little privacy. That is not an advantage in the nuclear family. We know that is a disadvantage in the extended family. All of the following are advantages of the extended family except privacy is compromised, cultural traditions are effectively transmitted, grandparents look after grandchildren, family can share the burden of misfortune. So, which of these are or is not an advantage? Privacy is compromised, definitely. Which of the following is not an agent of socialization? The ombudsman, the media, the church, the family. The ombudsman. Because there's somebody they go to complain with if you have a issue with a government, if you was mistreated or anything in a government office or receiving a government service. Which one of the following can result in AIDS? A. Promiscuous behavior. B. Kissing a person with AIDS on the cheeks. Sharing of toilets used by AIDS patients or bathing and cleaning an AIDS patient. Yes, A. Promiscuous behavior. 13. And I would have seen 13 come a lot of times, and a lot of people got 13 wrong. A juvenile person, a juvenile is a person who A is young and delinquent, B is under 18 years of age, C has the right to vote, D has attained social and psychological maturity. Very good. B is under the age of 18 years. A family formed through remarriage of divorced couple is referred to. I don't even need to go through the options. We know what the type of family that is formed through remarriage. So good. C, a reorganized family. Cohesion among members of a group would lead to cohesion among members of a group will lead to competition among members, conflict among members, disunity among members, or attainment of group goals. I'm already seeing D in the chat, so D is correct. A 13-year-old child in a family leaves school to go to work because of poverty. This situation is an example of child labor, street children, peer pressure, or lack of motivation at school. Yes, it is A, child labor. Something person saying B, that is street children. No, they never say they have no home. They say they leave school to go out to work. Street children is those who don't have a home and they living on the street. So it's definitely a child labor. Which of the following will result in the reduction of suicide rates? Empowering individuals with self-esteem, changing one's religion, educating the population through the mass media, or practice of family planning. So I'm seeing a lot of persons saying A, but did we read what A says? A says empowering individuals with self-esteem. These persons already have self-esteem. So yes, the answer is C, educating the population through the mass media. Because usually a person who resorts to suicide is one with low self-esteem and all of that, as opposed to somebody who has self-esteem. So it will definitely be C. So I need, when you all are answering, also read carefully, take your time and read the responses. AIDS may be best prevented by remaining faithful in marriage or practicing celibacy, refraining from casual physical contact with AIDS patients, refusing blood transfusions, or providing condom machines in public places. Yes, the answer is A. Drug abuse results mainly from curiosity, peer pressure, persuasion, or poor self-esteem. Mr. Francis. So a lot a lot of the time drug abuse results from A, curiosity. Because that's how they start. They're curious to know what this one does do and what this drug does do and what this drug does do until they get hooked on it and they're abusing it. So yes, peer pressure is a result of taking drugs, but drug abuse, the continuous use and abuse of the drugs, is mainly because of curiosity. Caribbean women are pursuing careers in all fields of endeavor. This has resulted in decline of productivity in the economy, an increase in sexual promiscuity, marginalization of males, and increase in youthful marriages. It's a repeat question. C, marginalization of the males. Upward social mobility may be obtained through changing of residence, pursuit of education, association with wealthy persons, pursuit of a healthy diet. Reaching a higher status, upward social mobility may be obtained by which one? The answer is B, pursuit of education. Because an education could lead you to better paid jobs and you can achieve
Education.
upward social mobility because of it. Which one of the following terms best describes participatory decision making by a government? A. Democracy. B. Autocracy. C. Dictatorship. D. Authoritarianism. Which one of the following terms describe persons being able to participate in decision making? So that is it. This is asking you to say which one describes your ability to participate in decision making by government. Yes, A, democracy. Because autocracy, which I'm seeing as A, is where it comes from the authoritarian style where what I say goes. You don't have any say. So it is definitely A. Which one of the following is a right of the child? The right to vote, start a family, be protected from discrimination, or employment? Yes, C. Be protected from discrimination. The informal group provides a sense of belonging and identity, solutions to many of life's problems, mutual support in obtaining food, clothing, and shelter, or society with a skilled labor force. An informal group provides which one? A. A sense of belonging and identity. B. Solutions to many of life's problems. C. Mutual support in obtaining food, clothing, and shelter. Or D. Society with a skilled population. Thank you, Annalise. The answer is A. A voluntary group provides for citizens A. Education. B. Healthcare. C. Social facilities. Or D. Community services. Very good, Francis. D. Norms, folkways, and mores function as A. The basis for formulating laws. B. Deterrents to sustainable growth. C. Systems of maintaining order in society. D. Media for influencing family planning. Yes, the answer is C. Systems of maintaining order in society. Thank you, Rachel. In order to ensure growth and development, modern society has formed institutions, banks, families, or trade unions. Very good. A. Institutions. Severe measures used by formal groups to maintain order among members are referred to as A. Laws, B. Sanctions, C. Mores, D. Deterrence. Yes, B. Sanctions. Very good. An employee was dismissed from work because of absenteeism due to illness. Which of the following institutions will provide assistance? National Insurance Board, the trade union, the law court, or the bank? Yes, Toinette. B. Trade union. So NIS will deal with your contributions that you give. But if you're dismissed because of illness, that is like discrimination slash being fired without a valid reason. So you talk to your trade union and they will pick up that case, especially if you would have provided notice to your employer that, okay, let us say sick leave or whatever it is, I'm unable to work, doctor, whatever, and they still fire you, go to your trade union and let them deal with that. And it might even end up, because of the trade union, in the industrial court as well. So that is why we say the trade union. When the date for general elections is announced, so it's asking here what usually happens. Parliament is suspended. Parliament may debate issues on voting irregularities. The post of the Prime Minister is declared vacant, and or no new political parties may be formed. So I saw the answer came in while I was still reading. So yes, Parliament is suspended or dissolved. So Parliament is suspended or dissolved when the election date is called. An example of corporation tax is A. Value added tax, B. Custom duties, C. Excise duties, or D. Tax on companies. Yes, tax on companies. The executive arm of government is referred to as Parliament, Cabinet, Senate, or the Judiciary. I only seen one answer for. Alright, he decided not to go with that answer. The executive arm of government. I didn't see the correct answer coming as yet. So the executive arm of government is B, the cabinet, because the executive arm of government is the prime minister and his or her ministers, and they form the cabinet. Sorry. 33. Labor problems are dealt with in the industrial court, magistrates court, appeal court, or the privy council. A, the industrial court. Good. The ombudsman investigates complaints of unfair treatment, death of individuals where foul play is suspected, instances of domestic violence, or financial records of members of parliament. A. Complaints of unfair treatment. Good. The legislative arm of government in Guyana differs from other CARICOM states in that Guyana A has a unicameral legislature, B uses proportional representation to determine the formation of government, C uses first past the post system in government elections, or D is a cooperative republic. Yes, the answer is B. Uses proportional representation to determine the formation of government. Which one of the following characteristics is found in the first past the post system but not in proportional representation? A number of political parties contest the election. The country is divided into constituencies. The electorate determines which party forms the government, or the system of forming the government is democratic. Very good. B, the country is divided into constituencies. Traffic congestion results from globalization, urbanization, trade liberalization, or air pollution? Any takers? The answer is B, urbanization. That's the crowding of cities and towns. And this is where we have the traffic congestion happening. Individuals regularly exposed to such conditions as mentioned above will suffer from tuberculosis, respiratory illness, stunted growth, or lead poisoning. Traffic congestion leading to air pollution. So, right, good. B, respiratory illness. Traffic congestion in cities may best be reduced by A. Prohibition of traffic entering the cities. B. Charging a toll to all vehicles entering the cities. 3. Developing the rural areas with facilities similar to the cities. Or D. Having a constant police presence in the cities. How can they reduce traffic congestion in the cities? No takers? Nobody don't know how we can reduce traffic congestion in the cities? The answer is C. Developing the rural areas with facilities similar to the cities. So people wouldn't have to leave the rural areas to go to the cities for these facilities. Which one of the following is a renewable resource? Human beings, uranium, bauxite, geothermal energy. So while yes, persons can give birth to new human beings, the answer is geothermal energy because we get that from beneath the surface of the earth. Good. Career guidance deals with A. Writing a CV, B. Application for a job for which one is qualified, C. Preparation for an interview, or D. Advice on obtaining qualifications for a chosen job. Good. The answer is D. Which one of the following is a non renewable resource? Soil, diamonds, forestry, human beings. A non renewable resource. Soil, diamonds, forestry, human beings. Good, diamonds. Counseling on career guidance benefits a country by A. Developing the human resource, B. Educating its nationals, C. Increase productivity, or D. Reducing conflict in families. So this one here is C, increasing productivity, because once they are um, assisted or counseled on which career they should go into, it will increase productivity in specific job areas. The major effect of forest fires on human health results from the destruction of the habitat of wildlife, an increase in noise pollution, damage to the ozone layer, or excessive heat which increases stress levels in humans. What is the major effect of forest fire on human health? Think about the ripple effect. It will be C, damage to the ozone layer. And we know when the ozone layer is damaged, that is where we have global warming and the ripple effect. The most effective method of preventing forest fires is by A. Widespread education on the importance of forests. B. Have state of the art equipment to extinguish forest fires. C. Passing laws which make setting of forest fires illegal. And D. Designating all forested areas as reserves. So, which has the most effective method of preventing forest fires? So, we have a toss up between A and C. So, we'll go with C because it looks specifically at prevention of forest fires. So yes, we can educate on the importance of forests and all of that, but how is that going to prevent forest fires? If you pass laws, however, and you make it illegal, persons wouldn't want to serve time or pay the fine for setting the forest fires. 46. Land pollution is caused by all of the following except effluent from factories, use of weedicides or pesticides, disposal of toxic waste, or dumping of garbage. So, all of them except what causes land pollution. Give me a second. So, I'm seeing A, effluent from factories. It's correct because effluent is water waste. So, it is A. 47. The term secondhand smoke is commonly associated with which one of those? I don't even have to give the correct answer. See, cigarette smoke. Yep. Finding solutions for the disposal of toxic waste produced in the Caribbean is the responsibility of the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Response Agency, or Caribbean Agricultural and Research Development Institute, Caribbean Environmental Health Institute, the institution of the Ministry of Health. So, finding solutions for the disposal of toxic waste produced in the Caribbean is the responsibility of C, Caribbean Environmental Health Institute. CARICOM countries experience all of the following except unfavorable balance of trade, lack of capital, lack of fertile land for agriculture, The influence of transnational companies. Lack of fertile land for agriculture. Yeah, we don't lack that. Number 50. When an earthquake strikes a CARICOM member state, the agency that provide assistance is Caribbean Broadcasting Union, Caribbean Development Bank, CARICOM Secretariat, or Caribbean Disaster Emergency Response Agency. Good. The answer is D. Caribbean Disaster Emergency Response Agency. Very good. So 50 is the last question I have there. How do I go back to my shared screen? Right. 9. Paul is the captain of his school's chess club. At meetings, he allows members to make whatever decisions they want. What leadership style is he displaying? Traditional, democratic, laissez-faire, or authoritarian? The answer is C, because it says that he allows them to make whatever decision they want. He takes a hands-off approach. Members of a formal group are more easily identified than those of an informal group because the members display similar behavior. Formal groups have written rules. Members are likely to wear uniforms. Formal groups serve their communities. The answer is C. Members are likely to wear a uniform. Which of the following qualities are characteristics of a strong leader? 1 is able to make decisions. 2 is always lenient with members. 3 does not tolerate disorder. Which one are we going with? One and 3B. Which of the following best characterizes a primary group? Large in size, face-to-face interaction, a common name or title, shared beliefs and norms. Yes, B, face-to-face interaction. Which of the following matters is not normally dealt with by family courts in the Caribbean? A, divorce, B, child custody, C, probate of wills, or D, alimony payments? It's actually C, probate of wills. You usually have that between the lawyer and the family. 14. One main duty of the Speaker of the House of Representatives is to A. Regulate House debates, B. Represent the President, C. Make important speeches, or D. Support governmental policy. Yes, the answer is A. That is the Speaker of the House is to regulate House debates. Which of the following is not a role of trade unions? Bargaining collectively for workers' welfare, that is a role. Reporting negligent workers to management. Monitoring the safety of workers at the workplace. Educating workers about their rights while on the job. The answer is B. In CARICOM countries, citizens have the right to vote. This right is preserved because general elections occur every 4 or 5 years. Citizens only vote if required by the law to do so. It is enshrined in the constitutions of these countries, or there are 2 or more political parties for which citizens vote. Yes, C. It is part of the constitution of the country. Items 17 and 18 refer to the 4 gatherings of people described below: boys playing football in the community park, students in uniform at a science fair, people shopping in the marketplace, and party members at a political party. Into which of the following types of groups would example 4 be classified? Party members at a political party, peer, primary, voluntary, or secondary? So I'm seeing C and D coming through. So we know it's not A because they all may not be around the same age. We know it's not B, which is primary, because they don't interact every day. C, voluntary. We have to do they come together for a purpose to provide like a service. Membership is obviously voluntary and not mandatory. Or secondary, there's a leader. Um, they don't know each other well. They don't interact daily. Hmm. Which answer are we going with? C or D? Alright, I've seen these are coming. When Mr. Francis, okay, he said C. So it is C actually, because this is where you, it's a voluntary group. You choose to join this organization. Which of the gatherings could most likely be classified as a peer group? Boys playing football in the community center, sorry, in the community park, students in uniform at a science fair, people shopping in a marketplace, or party members at a political meeting. So we're looking at the definition of a peer group, same age, interests. So we know for sure one is a part of a peer group. I see people saying students in uniform at a science fair. Yes, we will go with A, 1 and 2, because students in the uniform will suggest that they're from a school, from probably a class, or from a group, and they are around the same age. So, yes, we'll go with A, 1 and 2. Which of the following strategies is a political party likely to use to reach a large number of people in the shortest possible time? Posters, public meetings, electronic media, house to house visits. Shortest possible time, large number of people. C. Electric media. Electronic. What gives you electric? The plan proposed by political parties for managing a country is published in a document called a, we know this one, B, manifesto. The constitutions of Commonwealth Caribbean countries guarantees citizens freedom of conscience, expression, assembly, and movement. These freedoms are usually referred to as civic duties, human rights, responsibilities, or statutory deductions. So it's B, human rights. Item 22 refers to the following list of ancestors: Amerindians, East Indians, Europeans, Africans. Which of the following options correctly identifies the order in which the ancestors of the Caribbean people arrived in the region? We know that the Amerindians were here, so number one is first. Then the Europeans came and they met the Amerindians, so that's number three. They would have brought the Africans, which is number four, to work on sugarcane plantations. And after emancipation, they would have recruited East Indians to come. So the answer is A. Democratic control and open membership are features of a sole trader, street gang, private company, or cooperative society. D. Cooperative society. Caribbean countries where the King of England is the head of state may be described as presidential republics, benevolent dictatorships, constitutional monarchies, or constitutional democracies. It is C, constitutional monarchies. In a constitutional monarchy, the political leader of the victorious party becomes the prime minister, governor general, leader of the house, or president of the senate. So I'm seeing A, I'm seeing B. No, it can't be D. Let me do the process. It can't be D at all. So remember we said the constitutional monarchy. Somebody had the answer there. It is A, the prime minister, because not the head of state, they become the head of government, which is the prime minister. Which of the following sequences outlines the order through which a bill proceeds to become a law in most Caribbean countries? So we know the bill becomes a law, they propose it in parliament, and they have the debate. It goes to the Senate, then it goes to the president. So let's see which one is that. So we know for sure it's not D. We know for sure it's not C. It's between A and B. So which do we call the upper house and the lower house? So nobody don't know?
That chose A.
So I'm seeing your answers, but I'm asking which is the upper house and which is the lower house?
The lower house is the parliament and the upper is the House of Representatives.
So the Senate is the upper house and the lower house is the House of Representatives. So that means it is A as you would have said. I just wanted you to tell me which is which. So it is debated in Parliament or the House of Representatives first when it is brought there, and then it goes to the upper house, which is the Senate, and then it goes to the president. Caribbean governments have improved the rights of children born out of wedlock by building more foster homes for abandoned children, providing incentives for their parents to get married, passing laws to allow them to qualify for inheritance, or passing laws to control sexual relations outside of marriage? The answer is indeed C. The right of citizens to vote in an election is called numeration, social justice, disenfranchisement, or universal adult suffrage. D. Universal adult suffrage. Hey, Francis, you're here. Which of the following are items of expenditure for a government? We have pensions, excise duties, custom duties, or value added tax. Which of the following items are items of expenditure? Yes, the government spends or puts out money on pensions or in pensions. So it's A. Which of the following is not included in the written constitution of a country? Methods of taxation, responsibilities of citizens, powers and functions of officers of state, powers and responsibilities of parliament. Yes, A. Methods of taxation. Items 31 and 32 refer to the following population diagram of country P. Which of the following is the most likely reason for the decrease in the population in the 25 to 49 age group? So we see in 25 to 49, they are between the productive sector. What causes the decline or the decrease? War, immigration, birth control or immigration? Yes, it is B. Immigration. They may have migrated or left the country. Probably lack of job opportunities. We don't know. The number of males too young to be included in the productive sector is approximately. So let's look at the side that is on the males. Too young will be between, well, less than 1 to 14. So let's see. Approximately, we have, let's say, population in hundreds. So let's say 800 and 700. That's 15. And 5, that's 2,000. And this is like 2.5. So we can say it's B 2250. Good. A country's population increase is calculated by finding A. Net migration, B. Specific fertility rate, C. The difference between the birth rate and the death rate, D. The sum of natural increase and net migration. The answer is a a country's population increase is calculated by, how you know how much our population increase by? Well, be seen the difference between birth rate and death rate. Which of the following is least likely to be affected by overpopulation in a country? Pattern of land use, provision of social services, participation in religious activity, universal access to education, secondary education. So yes, it is C, participation in religious activity. An example of intra-regional migration is the movement of people from Jamaica to the United States to Montserrat, Anguilla to the United Kingdom, or Trinidad and Tobago to St. Lucia. Yes, it is D, because it is within the region, Trinidad and Tobago to St. Lucia. Item 36 refers to the following graph, which shows birth rate according to gender for country Z. From the data given in the graph, it can be concluded that. So let's look at the graph, all right? Male birth rate has always been lower than that of females. So we see that the male is the straight line. It doesn't have the spaces between. So male birth rate has always been lower than female birth rate. No. Female birth rate increased steadily between 1960 and 1990. No. Female birth rate reached its highest level around the mid 1970s. Okay, yes, we could see that male birth rate was higher than that of the females between 1975 and 1980. The answer is C. We could see that. Item 37 refers to the following table, which shows population figures for country X in 2020. The natural increase in population for country X in 2020 was, does anybody know the formula for natural increase?
That's a minus in number of deaths from deaths.
Very good. And you'll get A as the answer. Good. Birth rate minus death rate, natural increase. The term labor force is best defined as all persons who are under the age of retirement from work, qualified to work and currently employed, qualified, willing and able to work and seeking employment, employed and unemployed, qualified, willing and able to work. So the labor force is anybody within that age group who is, well, within the age group that is able to work. So it includes persons who are employed and unemployed. So the answer is D. The statistical data provided by a population census help the government of a country to determine its political base, no. Secure its maritime borders, no. Simplify its immigration policy, no. Plan its developmental programs, yes. So the answer is D. Which of the following conditions are problems usually associated with rapid urban growth in developing countries? We have unemployment, shortage of houses, and shortage of motor vehicles. It's one and two, so the answer is A. Because the shortage of motor vehicles has nothing to do with, that is not a problem. Yeah, that has nothing to do with that. So the answer is A. Persons would be considered unemployed if they are under the age of 35 and disabled, working for less than 12 months a year, studying full time at an institution of higher learning between the ages of 16 and 55, and actively looking for work. So it will be, which one you all have? That one will be D. You're within the age to work and you're looking for work. So it will actually be D. Because if you're disabled, you cannot look for work. Because you cannot work. So the answer is D. You're in that labor force age and you're looking for a job, so you're unemployed. Which of the following measures will assist Caribbean countries in developing self-sufficient economies? One, developing the local agricultural sector, so yes, investing in local industries rather than in foreign ones. Yes, and issuing import licenses for goods which can be produced locally. Definitely not. So 1 and 2, which will be A. 43. Which of the following actions may be taken by an employer against workers during an industrial dispute? So will the employer strike, sick out, lockout, or work to ruin? Lockout. Yes, that is what the employer might do against the employee. Is it true to say that marine life in the Caribbean is a renewable resource, an unlimited resource, useless as a tourist attraction, or not a contributor to person's diet? The answer is A. The attractive social conditions offered by some countries have influenced the movement of people from the Caribbean. These conditions may best be described as pull factors, incentive, push factors, or encouragements. Pull it, attracting them. The introduction of machines in agriculture results in the unemployment of farm workers. The type of unemployment these workers suffer is normal, cyclical, seasonal, or technological. It is D, technological, because they're being replaced. Item 47 refers to the following pie chart, which shows the proportion of revenue earned from industries in CARICOM. Which of the following statement is true about the information presented in the pie chart? Petroleum earns about 25% of the revenue. Actually, it's more than that. Petroleum and bauxite earn more than half the revenue. It's just about half. Agriculture, fisheries, and forests earn more than petroleum. No, that's incorrect. The mining sector earns more than the manufacturing sector. D. That is true. Which of the following would most likely be a potential benefit of CARICOM to a member state? removal of barriers to extra regional goods, movement of skilled people within the region, increased access to cheap extra regional imports, increased trade competition among member states. The answer is B, movement of skilled people within the region. Because now, if your country doesn't have the available job for your skill, you can go to another country in the region and acquire a job there if there is. Which of the following functions does the Caribbean Court of Justice perform for all its members? It supervises the electoral process on behalf of CARICOM. It acts as the appeal court to resolve civil and criminal matters, determine the tariffs for goods exported throughout the region, arbitrates disputes relating to the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas. It is D. It deals with that settling disputes between CARICOM countries. Renewable resources may provide energy in the Caribbean for years to come. One example of a renewable physical resource is coal, sunlight, petroleum, or natural gas. Of course, we know it's sunlight. B. Which of the following strategies would play an important part in a government's efforts to increase consumption of locally produced food? Increasing taxes on agricultural land, increasing the price on imported food, imposing heavy duties on imported farm tools, cutting down forest trees to obtain more land for housing. It is B. If you increase the price on imported food, people will buy local. Which of the following is the most important aim of trading arrangements within CARICOM? To promote economic development in the region, to increase the market and revenues of larger territories, to increase travel and contact among people of the region, to ensure that goods from outside the region become cheaper. The answer is A, to promote economic development in the region. The highest authority of the Caribbean community is the West Indian Commission, Council for Trade and Development, the Conference of Heads of Government, or the Council of Foreign and Community Relations. So the highest authority of CARICOM, it is. Anybody have an answer before I tell you all? It is nobody?
What number
C,
you asked?
53.
The answer is C.
Yes, the C, the Conference of the Heads of Government. Going to 54. Which of the following organs of CARICOM is responsible for overseeing the operations of the CSME? We have Standing Committee of Ministers, Heads of Government Conference, Council for Foreign Community Relations, Council of Trade and Economic Development. So we are on 54. Anybody? Okay, so I'm seeing right. So I'm seeing B is being said there. Actually, it is the Council of Trade and Economic Development. This is responsible for overseeing the operations of CSME. You all just piggyback off of the last one, huh? Which of the following organizations is most likely to be the first to respond in the event of a disaster in the region? Is it UE? Is it CDP, which is Caribbean Development Bank? Is it CARDI? Or is it CDEMA, which is it is D? That is the Caribbean Development Emergency Management Agency. If a CARICOM country imposes restrictions on CARICOM products, which of the following provisions is being violated? Liberalization of trade, functional cooperation, common external tariff or special regime for LDCs? Yes, it is A. Liberalization of trade. Item 57 refers to the following statement. CARICOM countries need to pool their skilled human resources. The most likely result of such an action will be a speeding up of the rate of brain drain, a reduction in the need for foreign experts, a reduction in workers' wages and salaries, an increase in the spending of foreign exchange. Yes, it is B. A reduction in the need for foreign experts. 58. Which of the following situations is the main reason for the trade conflicts which sometimes arise among CARICOM countries? Lack of natural resources in many of the islands, low level of industrial development in each territory, reluctance of some governments to permit freedom of movement, or competition for markets when several countries market identical products. Yes, the answer is D. 59. Economic integration as part of CARICOM's main objectives aims primarily to A. Rationalize CARICOM's existing tariffs, B. Limit outside access to CARICOM produce, C. Reduce the debt owed by CARICOM member states, or D. Accelerate development in Caribbean countries. So, what does economic integration do, or as part of CARICOM's main aim? Any takers before I respond? Okay, so I'm seeing D. The answer is indeed D. Accelerate development in CARICOM countries. And the last one, which of the following results is least likely from industrial development in the Caribbean? Increase in exports, high standard of living, increase in unemployment, increase in trading opportunities, which is least likely as a result of industrial development. It will be
See?
C. Yes, good. Increase in unemployment. Good. So we would have reached the end of that past paper and we will end here tonight. Yes, Shaniqua, you made it. Sleepy or not, you stick to the end. So thank you very much for having me. I wish you all the best in your paper 2. Paper 1. And enjoy your night. And thank you so much for joining on for paper 2 and paper 1. I hope it was good. I hope things would have been cleared up and all of that. If you had any doubts, you're going in with some confidence. So thank you for allowing me to be that source for you. So have a good night, everybody, and all.